Or they're going to see Vixen talking. I don't know who do the young people like Justin Bieber.
Yeah. I don't think
Like,
the kids like him no more, but I get your point.
you know what I'm saying? Like, don't nobody want to read about Vixen talking about Justin Bieber. Like, it's just not like, and it's like, no, you can't do that. So it's like you have to. All right. Hello. Who is that? That's Matthew McConaughey. He does that, right?
I think so. Yeah, that's his thing. I think he made that like his thing.
I'm not going to take that then. Welcome back to another relaunch.
Welcome back, everybody. I am LZ.
I am Keenan. How are you doing this week?
Keenan? I'm good. You know, I've been contemplating how I can get out of working.
Okay.
Because I really I'm over working and I don't know. I just want to kick it because working right now is stressing me out.
I feel you on that. I'll never forget. There was this clip circulating around Twitter, and this woman was asking people what they did for a living. She was asking women specifically what they did for a living. And there was one woman, when she got out of her car, they asked her, they were like, "Oh, what do you do for a living?" She says, "I'm married." And I said, yes, that is the life that I would like for myself. I want a husband that, excuse me, I don't want a husband. I want a man who is rich to come and pick me up and say, "Keenan, quit your job."
I know that's right.
I just,
that sounds amazing.
And it's and I want to, I've been working since I was 15 years old. I'm tired. I would like to do nothing for just a little bit of time. I want to be taken care of, and just, I want to be like one of those rich, when we talk about eating the rich and sending people to the guillotine. I want to be that 1%. Okay? I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that, just for a little bit.
I get it. Because wow, I don't want to do this shit no more.
Okay. But despite all that, we had some fantastic comics coming out. So let's go ahead and get into that.
We did. Let's do it.
Okay. So we're coming towards the end of Future State for DC Comics. And this week we had a couple more that was coming out. So let's start with Future State Justice League #2. This is written by Josh Williamson, art by Robert Roca, and the backup story for Justice League Dark is done by Ram V and Marcio Takara. Now, how did you feel about this?
Now, I actually I don't know. I thought it was just okay. I don't know. I didn't really like it as much as the first one. Some of the stuff that was coming out of this book, I was a little confused about. Like at one point, our Justice League or whatever, they're trapped on that planet because the Martians or whatever took them. But it seemed like every time that they were trying to figure something out, it was always just a convenient answer. They couldn't figure out who attacked them, but all of a sudden Andy was like, "Oh, it's the Hyper Clan. I remember they attacked me when I was a kid," which I was going to ask you, did that ever happen in
no.
the Aquaman book? I was like, okay, well now she knows, but I wasn't sure if they were trying to have that be some kind of tidbit of, hey, these are all kind of connected kind of thing. And then there was another moment in this where they are talking about where they are and wondering if maybe they're in their right Earth. But I didn't know that the multiverse was a known thing or an accepted kind of concept and that people can just kind of jump through it. I don't know. That part kind of confused me, but maybe I'm just dumb.
I mean, well, then if you are, so am I.
I was a little confused by that.
Again, so, I've been saying this for, I guess, the last few weeks, or the few times that we've discussed the Future State book. It's, I even think we said this a little bit in the beginning when this first got announced. DC is great at announcing things and hyping something up and making it seem really, really amazing. And then you actually get the content and it's kind of fine.
Right.
And I think Future State is a big example of that, because again, while we are getting new books and some stuff is happening after this, it feels just like an Elseworlds book, and none of these stories really matter, and you're reading and honestly they're just okay. It's a great showcase for the art, The artists who are on a
I
lot
did
of
like
these
the art.
stories are
Yeah.
like fantastic. But as far as story, it's just kind of like, okay, this is fine. What's the point of it?
Yeah. And then like when they were, so the Justice League is off on this like sulfury fire planet, and they realized it was a prison for the white Martians or the hyperclan that's attacking them and impersonating them and trying to like set up some dome that's going to increase their telepathic powers that'll make them control everybody. So they're on this other planet, and all of a sudden, just to get out, like I didn't know Speed could share their speed. I don't know. I mean, not Speed. Sorry, Flash. I don't know.
Flash.
That didn't make a lot of sense to me. I didn't. I guess also like I didn't know. I didn't know this Flash was that powerful that they can share their speed
All
with other
flashes
people.
are too powerful. It doesn't matter who the Flash is. They're
I
all
guess you're right. You're
too
right.
powerful.
Yeah, because it was. I mean, they were like, "Oh, I can just share my speed with everybody," and then they were like, "I can feel the vibrations of this Earth, and I can know that we're not like we're in our right multiverse, but we're just not on our Earth." And I was like, "What kind of power you got? God damn, you can do anything." So they shared their speed, and then they got all back to um, the right Earth or whatever, and then they have the whole fight with each other while they're uh trying to use these like memories or things that they know about each other to kind of differentiate who is a real Justice League member versus who is a part of the hyperclan, because the hyperclan can transform. They can do the whole mystique thing and be somebody else. And like some of the things that they said with each other where I thought were interesting. I liked that Superman said that he uses super hearing, like he hears Batman like kind of humming to himself while he's fighting.
That sounds like something I would do, honestly.
Like have our own theme song. I thought that was kind of funny. But yeah, I don't know. I wasn't that sold on. I wasn't sure if I would continue this book going forward if this was just the Justice League book, because everything just seemed too convenient of like a wrap up.
Agreed.
Granted, this is also like I guess only the second issue of something. They probably did have to wrap it all up because it isn't like an ongoing. I don't know, but still, I thought there could have been a little bit of something better there.
Yeah, no, I agree with all of that. And same for the backup. And I think I said a little bit about that. For the last one, it was like, it's fine. But again, and even with Justice League Dark, I think I'm just kind of tired of seeing like this particular team together because
Yeah.
it just has been so long. It needs to be a little something different to inject some new life into it. So they're fine. We'll go to
I
the
like
next
this
one.
Dr. Fate. I will say that. And like I thought he was kind of cool in this.
Oh, he's great. He's
Yeah.
like he's a good Dr. Fate. And I'm usually not like into Dr. Fate
because
because
that's somebody who's powerful.
Okay, what can he do? But like in those Justice League Dark issues, he was like really interesting. He's a cool guy.
Yeah. I mean, I was living for the flashy action parts of the Justice League Dark part, but
Marcel Ficar's art is fantastic. Like
yeah, the art was
great. I have an art book coming from him. So I had like,
that's dope.
I had purchased one of his art books in 2020, but then COVID happened. So like obviously he's kind of a little bit slower to get some things out because he has so many orders and things like that. So it's like COVID pushed everything back and he just couldn't get to it. And then like a couple weeks ago, I got an email from him. He's like, "Hey Keenan, I'm like finishing up your book now because it's going to have an original sketch of Betsy on it."
Oh yay, that's dope.
Yeah. And so he's like, "I'm sending it out," and so I should be getting it in like the next few weeks. I'm really excited.
I need to get more like art books and stuff like that. I need to start pumping up Exodus and Wonder Man and Polaris and all of that.
That's how it happens.
I need the art. But anyway, yeah, I thought the Justice League Dark part was good. I guess I understand what you're saying. I don't read a lot of the Justice League Dark books, but anytime I see images of them, it's always Zatanna, Etrigan, Constantine. See, I know the names like that.
Which has been great, like to get like that consistent story. However, it's now gotten to the point where it's like, okay, we either need to switch this team up a little bit or we need to revamp it completely. So that was Future State Justice League. Going on to the next one. So I didn't get into this particular issue, but I'm pretty sure you did. Future State Teen Titans #2, and this was by Tim Sheridan and Rafa Sandoval.
Okay, so I did read this book, and what the hell is going on? Like, I don't even know what's going on. It's very pretty to look at, but what the fuck is going on?
Future state is great for the artist. I really do think this was just supposed, and I feel like I wish they kind of would have just said like, "Hey, this is just going to be an artist showcase. Like, we
Right, for
want to
real.
give some of our artists their shine because they deserve it."
So, like in this book, um, if you guys remember that I said in the last issue, they were like building this team. Again, I was also confused back then because they weren't saying what happened to them. They're just in this like dystopian future and it's just them. The problem that I had with this book, although the art is beautiful, they would do a lot of the like flashbacks where it's like, oh, these we don't want to talk about that thing that happened 6 months ago, and then the very next panel is what happened 6 months ago, and they would also be in the same like location as they were before. So like it would get confusing on when they were jumping back and forth between a flashback versus something that was happening now. And then like Nightwing is now like Deathstroke. um
Okay.
yeah, he's Deathstroke and he's working with Red X, and they want to get like that Dial H phone thing.
Oh, I
Um,
love the Dow H concept.
oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Okay.
like I love that. Like the Dow H book that came out, Sam Humphries wrote was really good. And there actually used to be this Titan named Hero Cruz who had it. He was like this little gay black guy. It was great.
Oh, yay.
Oh yeah, I love Dow H.
Come on, Queen. Um,
Right?
I maybe that's who they were talking about in this there. I didn't know that. Because they kept talking about somebody named Cruz, and I was like, who the hell is that?
Oh my god. Oh my okay, so wait, like if Hero Cruz is like you're gonna have to stay on this book now and confirm for me if it's Hero Cruz, because if Hero Cruz is the part of this, I will actually go and pick that up. Like Hero Cruz is like, so you know how like I love some D-list X-Men? Like Hero
Yeah.
Cruz is like my D-list Titan. I
Oh, wow.
love
Okay.
him. Oh
Okay.
my gosh, that would be very exciting.
Well, they were talking about somebody who used to own this book, and I think his last name was Cruz or whatever. I mean, who used to own the Dial H thing. He's not alive anymore because all the Titans are dead.
Naturally.
Why? They didn't say. But something, I guess, kind of happened. And now they have to fight like the 4 horsemen of apocalypse because I don't know. And their plan is Shazam, you know, he is when
There's
he
too much going on in this already.
You see what I'm saying? It's a lot. Like they're fighting the 4 horsemen of apocalypse, and you know, Shazam, when he calls on Shazam, the powers come from the Rock of Eternity.
Okay.
Well, the Titans' plan is for Raven to trap the 4 horsemen of apocalypse like through some kind of magic spell into the Rock of Eternity, which means that Shazam will never be able to trade back places into Billy because that's where the magic kind of goes when he goes back and forth. So they're like fighting the 4 horsemen of apocalypse, but then also somehow they also get like changed and converted into like little demon things, and they got to fight each other. Amazing. It was a lot.
I'm about to go pick this up. This sounds amazing.
Maybe you might like it. But I was like, what the hell is going on? And then, you know, they keep fighting over whether or not they should finally use the Dial H dial, and Raven is in the background. And every panel, she's like saying this spell, and I don't know what the hell the spell is. It's like random magic words, and she's like saying all this stuff in the background. It's not the typical, you know, Azarath, Metron, Zinthos that we all know. It's just like legit magic words that she's saying in the background. And a Bunker was in this, which I thought he was kind of cool.
Bunker.
Yeah, there was a moment where Nightwing, now Deathstroke, wanted to like get across the field really quickly, and he yelled at him and was like, hey, Bunker, give me some I need some sets. And he like made gymnastic things in the air for Nightwing to flip on and stuff. I thought that was kind of cool. But yeah, child, I don't know.
Like there's like the H dial, the 4 horsemen of apocalypse, Shazam, the Rock of Eternity. It's a lot. The Titans,
and then it ends with like Shazam and Raven kind of like fight, like being together or whatever. And then it was like, you know, if you want to find out what happens next, find out in March in Titans Academy. So I guess this is, you know how Future State has always been like, these are going to be possible timelines.
Yeah.
Supposedly now we're supposed to follow this through Titans Academy to see how, if we even get there in March.
Oh, wow.
I don't know.
Well, that's exciting. So, guys, if you're gonna find out in March, let us know.
Yeah, I might check it out just because of Starfire, even though I don't really like the whole Den Mother thing that they're doing with her, but we'll see.
Okay.
We'll see.
Let me know. If Hero Cruise pops up, I might join
you. Okay.
So next up we got Future State Robin Eternal #2. Now again, this was not one that I was into.
No, this is one I was into.
Okay.
For sure.
This is the one that has Tim Drake, right?
Yes. This is all Tim, and he was off trying to figure out how to get this like Lazarus stuff that they were using on those Sentinel robots that I kind of called them before, you know, that they are looking for all vigilantes. And this was written by Megan Fitzmartin and drawn by Eddie Barrows. The art was great in this book. I definitely wanted to like highlight that the art was really good in this book. So in the last issue, Tim ended up defeating this robot, but all the Lazarus stuff like spilled out on him. So he's been like amplified now, but it's like a different version of it because it was supposed to not work for humans. So he's like able to fight, but he's also like going through these illusions and all these kind of battles and stuff. And while he's fighting, he is having this moment of reflection where there's this shadow of Batman that is always being cast on the people that he's fighting and in the background, and it's constantly telling him how he's not enough. And you really get into like the mind of Tim because he is the smartest of the Robins, but he doesn't feel like he is the enough to be a Robin. He always feels like, you know, Nightwing is Nightwing. That's the first one. And Damian is his son. And he looks at Jason's aggression as something that he would like to like also be able to do because he's tough. So you really get into the mindset of Tim while he's doing all this. The entire time, spoiler is there like, child, what is he going? What's in his head? We got to fix this. There was also the character from last issue around who is a hard of hearing or deaf, and she is again still using sign language in this, which I think is really cool. And her and Spoiler are able to communicate with each other via sign language while they try to figure out what is going to go on with Tim. Tim finally gets to have his confrontation with the person who's kind of been around all of this, which is this Peacekeeper 13 guy. I don't know if you remember in the Batman books, Peacekeeper #1, I think is like the main villain or whatever from the Magistrate. So this is like maybe like one of his understudy generals. This book, in my opinion, was really good. Great showcase for them. I would love for them to continue on as like some kind of a Tim Drake story and let him get some shine because he definitely needs it. He talks in this book about how he died before. He died recently in the DC comics, and Spoiler was there. Like she saw it happen. And I think the way he was resurrected was actually through the Lazarus pit. I'd have to go back and make sure. So I think that he talks about in this book, like the trauma that he's putting on Spoiler with her having to see him like go through this again. I thought it was a really, really well-written comic and really get into the mind of Tim. It ended well. It didn't end on like a cliffhanger. It ended like, you know, you'll catch Tim in the next Bat Family book. But I think that this team could easily, right? Maybe, because they really, really use him. I think they would. I would hope that they use Tim going forward and give him some kind of shine because this is pretty good.
Okay.
Highly recommended for the Tim Drake fans out there.
Good for the Tim fans. It's been a rough ride.
It has been.
So next up, Daredevil 27. Now you're still catching up on this, yes?
I am still catching up, but Elektra just showed up in just on the cover for the next issue that I have to read. So I think I'm at around like 10 or 11. So I was like, "Ooh, I want to get into this because now I see my girl is finally showing up," but I haven't caught up just yet.
Okay. So you know, this issue is a King in Black tie-in. There's entirely too much King in Black. I feel like I said that already, but I just need to repeat it. Like there is entirely too much King in Black in my comic books right now. This is what a Venom event.
It is, yes.
I've had enough. I've had enough. I've like
It
genuinely
is.
had enough.
I didn't know
So
that this was going to be spilling out into everybody's like book. I didn't know everybody was going to have a tie into this.
it needs to stop. So again, basically Null's people, whatever, attacked the prison that Matt was in. They kind of like bonded, and you see Matt fighting Null's influence because Null is supposed to be like black nothingness, and you have like this whole thing about Matt and how he's this man of God and faith, and how he's kind of able to overcome what Null is doing to him.
Oh, that's
And
cool.
then on the outside, you have Elektra as Daredevil fighting off like the Null monsters trying to attack people. Typhoid Mary is one of the people who's been infected. And it's actually kind of interesting because it's like Null isn't controlling her. He's just making her more powerful. She actually makes a comment where she's saying, I'm used to voices in my head. Like, you don't control me, but thanks for the upgrade.
Oh,
I'm
wow.
going
Oh,
to
wow.
kill Elektra anyway. Typhoid Mary is great.
That sounds pretty interesting.
So that's basically the gist of it. Again, it is a King in Black tie-in, so it doesn't really have any big focus on the narrative. It gets a little bit more into Elektra and Matt's heads about like where they're at and what they're doing.
Oh, I can't wait to get to that. She
Yeah,
beating
she's
ass in
kind
this?
she is beating ass, and she's kind of going through the like she's going through the motions of it. She's like, I'm fighting like Matt as Daredevil. She's like, I need to be Elektra right now. I need to like kill some things. And then she's kind of realizing that while I don't necessarily always have to be like Matt, it's okay to be like him sometimes, because one of the people who she's trying to protect, his like mom, has died, and she
Oh,
like
okay.
finds him. Yeah, so she has to bond with him on that. Again, it would have been nice to have this type of story without the added addition of King in Black.
Yeah.
It's just taking over, but it's there.
I feel like it's been going on for a while.
And it feels like it's been going on for a very long time.
Yeah.
Like,
or maybe just, you know what? I think it's just because they've been building up towards it a lot in every book. Like a lot of these books have been mentioning how Null was coming and all that kind of stuff. And now he's finally here. So now they have to go through the whole battle. So that's probably why it feels like it's been going on for ever.
And then isn't there also like a main King in Black book?
I think so. I'd assume so. I'd assume that there is probably a actual main book and everybody has like a tie-in to it.
Okay. Next up is Taskmaster number 3, and this comes to us from Jed MacKay and Alessandro Vitti. And again, I'm a big Jed MacKay fan now. He is.
They need to go ahead and let him take this into an ongoing because I loved this. This was really, really good. I'm a big Taskmaster fan. I think he's a really cool character, and I would like to have him have his own solo series. I think he could handle having that.
He's doing it very well with this like mini.
Yeah, I think this is pretty good. Taskmaster is very like in your face about things in a way that is hilarious to me. But yet still so like bad. He's still a bad guy, which I like in this book. He can be a lot of fun, and he talks about things in a way that's really funny, but he's still a killer, and he's still okay with the kind of stuff. And I am glad that Jed MacKay isn't like trying to sugarcoat that. Sometimes I feel like popular villains don't ever get to do villainous things because sometimes people end up like not being into it, or they get an uproar about them doing villainous things because it's a bad thing. You should not kill someone. But I think that villains should still be able to be villains, and that should be an okay thing.
Sometimes people are bad.
Yeah, sometimes people are bad. I wasn't exactly sure who this Korean Superman was in this book. Yeah, I wasn't sure if he was new or what, but Taskmaster is still trying to get these basically memory like imprints of these 3 people who he needs in order for him to get into the case that Maria Hill left behind. And he is on this boat. I mean, in this truck. And he tells these people, like, oh, yeah, definitely the drugs I've been giving you, you guys are going to get superpowers. I got you.
Yeah.
It's nothing. And then, he shrinks. And I just assume that obviously he stole some PEM particles. But come to find out, they weren't the real PEM particles. They were like some bootlegs that Nick Fury was able to acquire for him, which I thought was kind of funny. But they end up getting these villains who wanted to get superpowers, who Taskmaster told them he was like injecting them with this stuff. They get stopped by this Korean Superman, and they try to fight him, and it doesn't go well. And you end up thinking that Taskmaster just probably turned on them or double crossed them somehow and used them in order to get what he needed. And he needed a ride and a way into this like Korean like Pentagon place in order for him, again, so he can watch this woman, this high official up there, so he can get her like imprint in his head. Of course, when he finally gets in there, things don't go well. They
how you would expect.
Exactly, they never do. He gets caught while he's in the vents as still like little bitty Taskmaster because he used those PEM particles. And he's running away and he's thinking, you know what, I can figure this out. As long as I stay small, there's no way for them to kind of find me. And then literally as soon as he gets out of the vent, he turns big. And he was like, God damn it, with these bootleg.
He was like, man, he was like, I'm gonna kill Fury.
I thought that was really funny. And then he gets stopped by this a woman named White Fox, who I didn't know anything about her, but I guess she is a Korean superhero.
Yeah, she's been around for a while. I can't remember where she first appeared. I think she was in like a video game or something. And then they transferred her over to the comic. She's been in a couple of things and like some miniseries. She was in the Contest of Champions book that Al Ewing did. And I think she appeared in one of the Agents of Atlas miniseries at a time. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool that they kind of brought her over from the games or whatever, and we're actually using her still. I like that she made this appearance. Again, I had no idea who she was. And she was trying to fight Taskmaster, and that didn't go very well for her because obviously he figured out who she was just from watching her moves. That just really tells you that Taskmaster is not ever really going into things blind. My favorite part of this book was when he was fighting White Fox and he was naming off the moves that he stole from people. And he was like,
he was like that punch I saw Captain America do one time.
Yeah. Or like, oh, that time Shang-Chi threw me out of a window, like that move he did. I thought that was really fun. I like that part a lot. And then, Widow shows up after he finishes off White Fox, and, things usually go the Widow's way. And Taskmaster, you had thought that he double-crossed those people in the beginning, but he actually did give them powers, except, it wasn't the typical super strength and stuff. It was electric like powers, and he threw those into overdrive and used those people as a bomb. So he used that as a distraction for him to get away. I'm sorry, no. They weren't electric powers. They were psychic powers.
It was like a psychic nuke or something like that.
He made them into like a psychic nuke. So everyone around in like a certain radius or whatever got hit with like a big telepathic blast, except him, because he planned for that. And this moment for me, the next moment when he was like standing over Black Widow, I thought was really, really like kind of terrifying. I thought he was going to do it. Yeah. So he like, after he sets off this telepathic blast, the Black Widow sitting there and she's like laid out, unconscious, and he's like staring at her. He's like, all it would take me is 2 steps and I could finish this. And for the way that this was like drawn and written out and like the panel placement and stuff, I was like, I think he might do something. But he actually ends up leaving a note for her that he wasn't the one that killed Maria Hill, while he goes off and goes on to his next mission, which he will be going into Wakanda, so I don't really know how well that's gonna go for him.
Oh, that's gonna be messy. I also like about like when it comes to that Black Widow scene, I kind of like the whole narrative that was going on through his mind about like how he could kill her right then and there. But at the same time, he's like, I've seen her die before and I've seen her
Yeah.
come back. And he's like, even if I do kill her, is she gonna come back? And then it's like when she comes back, she's gonna know I killed her. So she's gonna still come after me again. And he's just like, is all of that worth it? And it's like, no. And it's like that's why you just leave this note. It's just like, hey, like I didn't do that. I don't want to keep playing this game, this cat and mouse, whatever.
Yeah.
It's just like leave me alone. And so like you said, now he's going into Wakanda, and that's gonna be fun.
Yeah, he
Some
needs
Dora
the
are
imprint
probably
of
going
Okoye.
like,
Yeah.
I was about to say some Dora gonna knock him out.
I expect him to probably hit on some of them and that probably not go well. But overall, this book was great. I really would love if Jed McKay stayed on Taskmaster and they just rolled out into a solo series for him.
Absolutely. Anything that would continue Jed McKay's longevity in writing, I will support.
Absolutely.
So next up, Eternals. And that was by Kieran Gillen and Esad Ribic. Now, do you think this is going to make you become an Eternals fan?
I think so. I think it got me.
I was like reading this issue and I was just like,
I'm liking this a lot.
I was like, this is kind of good. And I was just like, but like, Icarus is like not my cup of tea. I'm ready to like move on from him. But like Cersei, Kingo, Phastos, like, yeah, I was feeling all of them. I'm like feeling like the whole big world building, the Mad Titan with Thanos stuff. Just the I don't know. It's like, I think I'm gonna become an Eternals fan.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. I did like the fact that it's always harped on that, they are Eternals. They're always going to come back, so that people can kind of accept that if they die, they're going to come back. So, they kind of have their own thing there. But, their machine is broken. And it's like the machine that is the thing that keeps them all like operating and connected with each other and makes them all Eternals. Now, they're in this fight in the beginning between Thanos and Icarus, I thought was pretty cool.
Beautifully drawn. Rivik, like,
beautifully drawn stuff. Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Great. It looked like it was a big fight, battle, intense. You felt all of it. Like the part where Thanos kind of realized that he didn't actually beat Icarus or just kill him, whatever, and he's like, you feel that rage? It's like, yeah, you get that. You get that.
Yeah, I thought that was really cool. Because they're fighting in their old homeworld or whatever, and obviously their homeworld has like portals and stuff to different times that they can do and jump to, and Icarus uses that to kind of fight Thanos through all these different time periods or whatever. And then he ends up, like you said, he's like fighting Icarus, but he ripped his head off, which I was like, whoa.
Right.
I know that they're Eternals and they can come back, but damn. So Thanos like rips his head off and is sitting there with his like head, the severed head, but then he finds out that it was just a robot or whatever, or like some kind of hologram that they used to probably practice in that room. And what did you think about this story about like him being a god or being seen as a god when Icarus kind of first returned there, which I thought was a really cool kind of aside, and the way that you get more backstory on the Eternals without taking away from the story, that the machine was kind of giving you this, let me give you a quick history lesson on Icarus.
No, I was really into it. And I think it makes sense for them. It's like you see these kind of like super powerful people who like never die, always around. It's like, of course you would look at them and think, yes, higher power.
Yeah. I mean,
so I was into it.
When he floated in, on that island, he was talking to that boy. Of course, he would think you were a god. He is wearing a loincloth.
Okay.
you have all these like crazy powers. So, of course, he thought you were a god. And he was looking, and by he, I mean Icarus was looking for this like monster that he needed to like, fight and defeat. And he told the boy, if you next time you see the monster, like light a fire and I'll be there. But he waited forever and forever and he never came. Pretty much he died. And the grandkids finally lit the fire, as a gesture for their grandfather who had died. And Icarus came and was like, what's going on?
Yeah.
I told you I don't want to like this if the monster is coming. But of course, the monster actually ended up coming. So he ended up fighting them or whatever. But back in our time, back on like Olympus is where the Eternals all live. They are all trying to tell everyone, hey, y'all, Thanos is back and somehow he is in here. And that shouldn't be because Thanos isn't an Eternal. Or like he's not like a true Eternal. So something's broken. And that's when they learn that like the machine is broken. So they don't know what's going on. Some of them kind of assume that Sprite did it because obviously she's mischievous. So they probably just assume that she was the one who did it and that Icarus probably could be in on it. Or they think that the other Eternal is like looking for a way to have power among the other Eternals, because once something like this happens, they have to choose the prime Eternal. And, they were like, oh, this means that we have to put it to a vote and find a prime Eternal. But people think that he's probably like Druig, I think that's his name, is you were trying to like, he's like looking for power or something. So they've got some issues there. In saunters Cersei.
Icon. It was just like,
giving a look. Yeah. With her bangs and
the iconic bangs.
Yep, with her bangs. And she's like has this like inner circle basically with her and Icarus, which I believe that her and Icarus were a couple, I believe, at one point, right?
Honestly couldn't taste. So I don't know too much. That's why I'm saying like this is going to make me an Eternals fan, and I'm going to be highly disappointed if I go back and I read a bunch of Eternals comics now and I don't like them.
I don't think they've had that many, so you'll definitely have to go back and check them out and see what's going on, because I don't know. I think this is going to make me become an Eternals fan. I wonder if they are going to have some kind of crossover with the X-Men. Because
they've always been like loosely kind of tied, haven't they?
Yeah, they're like cousins of each other in a way, kind of, because with the way that the Celestials came and did their genetic stuff on like Cro-Magnon humans or whatever you want to call them, they created the Eternals, the Deviants, and then they said that they left the genetic potential for humans to develop mutations. So it's like they're kind of sort of related, but kind of not in a way. But I just wonder that if their machine for resurrection is broken, but the mutants have just found out how to resurrect themselves, I wonder if there was ever going to be some kind of crossover between the two.
That would be cute. And then like, there's a lot of things about evolution and stuff in mutants, right? I mean, obviously always in X-Men comics in terms of evolution, but it's like, ascending to that next level and becoming greater than what you always have and like using your powers in new and stronger ways. So it's a nice little connection you could bring in there. I mean, if this makes me an Eternals fan, I'll be into it.
Yeah. I mean, Kieran Gillen is a really good writer. So I think that especially with something like this, where he gets to really like be creative, because I think I've read interviews where he said he created like 40 or 50 Eternals for this book, because I think before this it was only like 12 of them. So
he's good. He knows how to play with the gods. Wicked and Divine is amazing.
Exactly. So I think that this kind of like, God level kind of stuff for him is going to be a lot of fun. He's probably going to turn me into Eternals fan. Damn. Well, whatever, it is what it is.
There you go. Eternals number 2. So next up, moving into the X book, speaking of X-Men, X-Force 17, Benjamin Percy and Kassar. Now, I know this has been all your jam,
Yeah.
Your girl's been in it. She wasn't in this part. Well, she wasn't a big part of this issue, was she?
She was not, no. And I think she's leaving the team. So, you know.
Oh, that's right. Because she, I was remember because I was saying I didn't actually think she would like leave, but then the whole X-Men thing started, so she is probably gonna like completely leave.
Like legit leave. Yeah, I didn't. I thought it was more of her just like throwing a fit, like, oh, I don't have to be on this team, but she was eventually going to come back. But with the X-Men announcement, I think she is legitimately leaving. So I still like X-Force. I like what they're doing as far as like this whole CIA thing. This issue was a Kid Omega focused issue. Which makes sense. And in the story, they talk about how there was something that happened on this boat and these people died, and it died near Krakoa. So because of the proximity to Krakoa, they were afraid that Krakoa will be blamed for the deaths. So Beast specifically wanted to send in someone to go kind of handle it. And in the story, the only person that is available is Kid Omega. So, which makes sense because Wolverine is in Madripoor in his solo series, and Domino we saw is actually in Cable right now because she's going to be helping him and all that kind of stuff. So I like that the stories like all kind of line up in that way. So this isn't some like random forced Kid Omega issue. I mean, they would have to do something like this, a character focused one, because all the other characters are busy in other books. So I kind of like that there's this kind of synergy between them. So Kid Omega has been talking about how he just like is over dying and being killed, and because he goes through every single death that he's experienced in this book, and he's just like, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm better than that. I'm stronger than that. I can be the one to kind of handle this mission. His powers are, he's an Omega level telepath, and he's also a telekinetic, and he can create physical psychic weapons. Not necessarily weapons, but just like draw physical psychic energy.
I wonder where you got that idea from.
Yeah. I mean, I think when he actually first did it, he said that he got it from Betsy. He was like, oh, you know how Psylocke can do that? I wonder if I can do it. So he did it. And yeah, so he uses this like jetpack in it, which I just kind of looked at that as mostly him just using I mostly looked at that as him using his telekinesis to fly.
He made a psychic jetpack?
Yeah, he's like flying with his psychic jetpack. But again, I just kind of looked at that as he was using his telekinesis to fly and probably just was being dramatic and made a psychic jetpack, to make it look like that. But he was actually just telekinetically flying himself.
So that was one thing I kind of didn't like when they kind of started doing with Betsy's powers, especially during the Brian Wood era when they had the all-female X team. They had her making various psychic weapons, which was fine at first, but I'll never forget there was one issue that Mark Guggenheim wrote, and he had her doing like, I know, right? I had her doing a psychic Gatling gun. And it was just like, it's just like, she's not a Pink Lantern. Like, that's not what we're doing.
Right.
So like, that's what I think of with psychic jetpack. It's just like, oh, okay, that's a little, all right.
Yeah. But he ends up using his like telepathic powers to locate this girl who's in it, and she's like alive still. He has this whole relationship with Phoebe, one of the Cuckoos. And they even talk about like, wait a minute, why do you even like me? I thought y'all all hated me, And she was like, no, I see through your facade. I see through all of this, like this shell of a person that you kind of put on the outside.
Was Phoebe the one that he always liked? Or he used to like Sophie?
Yeah, I have no idea. I don't remember. I think that I don't follow them girls like that.
I distinctly
I know like one of them
he was like in love with one of them.
But I thought that one died, right? Didn't he like tell her to use Cerebro, so that was she died from that?
Yeah, she like died. But I thought that wasn't that Sophie or was that Phoebe?
I have no idea. I told you.
If anyone remembers if it was Phoebe or Sophie, please let us know.
Yeah, please do. So he needs to get more like information off of the people who survived from that ship attack, and he literally marches into a hospital and just goes straight into the room because again, he's a very powerful telepath. and very powerful psychic. So he like stops everybody in there, and he was like, I think Phoebe was even shocked, like, "Oh, I didn't know you could do all of this." And he's like, "Yeah, it's nothing." um, so yeah, it was a really like Kid Omega focused issue. By the end of it, him and Phoebe kind of like they show that they're this couple or whatever, and she kind of sees through, like I said, sees through his like, I'm trying to be, you know, counterculture, anarchist kind of thing. And she was like, what you need to do is change them clothes and get you a new outfit. So she of course gets him in with Jumbo Carnation. This is all after she was kind of like going through a telepathic scan with him to get kind of closer. And she was like, you know, there's this part of your mind that you never let anybody see. And it shows how he was adopted. And when his powers first manifested, he killed his parents on accident. And how he's been kind of like living with that. And he says, you know, I've never really shared that with anybody before. And she was like, thank you. And he was like, no, thank you. I appreciate you like listening to me right now. So they're kind of going through. Jumbo Carnation is like, we need to get rid of these clothes because you look a fool. Let's get you a new outfit, a new look. He tries on all these different costumes. Some of them were homages to things that we've seen before. One of them, he's got pouches every damn where, and it's like he's like Cable. Another time, he is looking like Wolverine, and he's like, no, this is too mentory. He puts on the other Kid Omega costume. Remember there was the little Shi'ar kid, right? Wasn't he? Yeah, he puts on that and it's like, no, this is too Shi'ar, which I thought was a fun little callback.
Oh, that's cute.
Or like, I think his name was Kid Omega. And then he gets his whole new costume, which I really like. I think I've learned that I really like a solid black and a color. And he gets this like solid black costume with like these pink Omega and like really like cool streamlined lines on it or whatever.
Oh, that actually sounds kind of cute. You know, I love a little pink in a male superhero costume.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. It's very like an X-Force version of Kid Omega, you know, versus whatever he was wearing before. So yeah, I like this issue a lot. Again, the art was fantastic. Joshua Cassara was really good. It ends with again that Peacock Man, which I think, are you reading Wolverine?
Yes.
I don't remember if you remember in the Wolverine issue, there was that Peacock Man who like picked up some of Wolverine's blood. So I don't know what's really going on or what's going to happen there. But he appeared at the end of this issue. So I'm assuming he's going to be the big bad across those books.
How do you feel about Quentin Quire as a Hellion fan?
I mean, yeah.
I know a lot of people like to kind of compare them and what they do and how they act.
Oh, is it just because they're both angsty? I didn't know that was a thing.
I think so. I think so there's some tension there.
Oh, I didn't know that was a thing. I don't know. I never really put the two of them together because I don't see them as being similar. As like I said, Kid Omega is very much that like I am, you know, a part of counterculture, you know, and I want to antagonize people because I want to get to the root of things, or because I think I know best. You know, that kind of person. Hellion's just like a dude. You know, there's like depth to his jockiness, I guess you could say, but he's not like someone that's an anarchist the way that if you take the anarchy away from Kid Omega, then I can see the comparisons, but because he is way more into that kind of stuff, then I don't really see the two of them being similar.
Okay.
I do want Hellion in a book though, that's for sure. And I guess maybe people are upset that it should be Hellion in this book instead of Kid Omega, but
that's what I've seen some Hellion fans say.
Oh,
to be fair, there's like outside of you, there's like two other Hellions fans that I know.
That was shade.
No, it's like that was just being real. Like I don't I don't know a lot of Hellion fans outside of you and those two other people, and I know those two other people do not like Kid Omega because they feel like he usurps roles that could be for Julie.
I disagree with that, but I do think that it would be interesting if Hellion did join X Force while Quentin was there. I think the two of them butting heads would be interesting to see, because I think that it would probably get annoying that Hellion is good with his telekinesis and and Quentin isn't like a big telekinetic kind of person. So I mean, he has the power, but he doesn't have the skill that Hellion has. So it would be like a big battle. I could probably see Quentin being like, well, I could do that too, and then not going well. So yeah, great issue. Definitely recommend it.
All right. Next up, we have Excalibur 18 from Teeny Howard and Marcus Tell.
Mm.
Now,
We do.
I've been ready to talk about this for a while. So yeah, let's go ahead and get into. Now,
I will. This is your book.
So I will say, like, as a Betsy fan, obviously I'm enjoying the story.
Mm-hmm. Now, Betsy's story.
Betsy's story.
Because she's the only one that got one.
So I mean, yes. So the story. And so I've kind of been like going. I read the issue like a couple of times. I mean, I tend to do that with most of my comics. I read them multiple times, especially before we talk about them. And so I will die on the hill that this book has probably been consistently decent narratively since issue 12. Since like issue 12, when Betsy walked in that Citadel and like told Saturnine, I'm the only Captain Britain you've got, and like we moved into X of Swords, like it has been consistently written. Especially when it comes to Betsy's story. I think that there are two things that are really starting to hinder it for me. That is the art, which I spoke a little bit about last week. I just think that both Howard and Toe are too kind of green in the industry so far that they're not able to really work off of each other too well to like pick up the slack on the strength of her weakness in dialogue and his kind of weakness in art. I compare a lot of this to Excalibur issue 13, which had Silva on art and was like infinitely more well received than like any of these previous ones have been, which people have been saying are getting better when they read them. The second part is the cast. And I know that has been a big thing for a lot of people that, no one else does anything. And I would always compare the title to like Marauders. And so I went on a little bit like of a Twitter right this morning that was like, because of some conversations that I saw happening around my TL, plus some things that people had messaged me. People tend to message me a lot about what they enjoy in comics, which I love. I always recommend people do that. I love talking about comics to people. And so, I was coming to this point with Excalibur. I was like, it's similar to Marauders in that the story is only focusing around Betsy and at one point in time Apocalypse. And Marauders tends to center around Kitty and Emma, and everyone else is kind of like on the outside. And a few of the people that I talked to, I was like, I think they're coming to the realization that they don't actually like Betsy. And that's perfectly so too.
I think people are realizing that. Yeah.
They're coming to realize that like they don't like Betsy, which is like absolutely perfectly fine. And that the people that they want to read the book for aren't getting any shine. And I was like, oh yeah, no, I totally get that, because I read Marauders and I don't really enjoy it that much because like the people I'm reading for, Bishop, Iceman, don't get to do anything. And the Hellfire machinations of Emma and Kitty just aren't that interesting to me. Right. And so Craig, Twitter user Omni Shambles, everyone should follow him. He is like a really great person. He has really well thought out insight on the comic book theory. Yes. When I was like kind of going on my rant about like I don't think everyone likes Betsy, he's like, no, that's not it. And so, he kind of lets me know his issues with the book in terms of like the writing and the story that's taking place and how it can kind of get incoherent. And so again, it kind of just made me take a deeper look into the two books as a whole and go back and do some reading between the two of them. And that's why I say that since issue 12, I will completely agree that I think people feel as though I have a blind loyalty to this book because Betsy is my favorite character, which is like not the case whatsoever. Like if a book is bad, I'm gonna say it's bad. I
You
have
know that don't apply to me.
yeah. Like I know you know. I know you know. I know you know I don't. But I do feel like some other people do. And so it's like I never want that to be the case. I don't think Excalibur is a bad book. I would say that I think it is a frustrating book. I think that
Yeah, frustrating is a better word.
I think that is an extremely frustrating book because you get all these parts again. So even in this issue, it kind of feels like we're getting a refresh of what mutant magic is. And for those people who have kind of been waiting for it to be like fireballs and beams and all that stuff, no, it's being explained that mutant magic is a new way of life. It's kind of like following things of Krakoa to like create new practices in different areas for the mutants there. It is the combination of their powers making them stronger. It is the evolution, it is the growth. You get kind of this insight into Betsy's mind of where she is and like how she's back in her original body and like what she's kind of do. Of course, we have like this kind of phantom Betsy going around. We don't know who it is. Rogue is running around screaming about how she's so worried. And this she's shut off.
How is she that worried? I thought that they like each other.
We and so basically, Psylocke,
or at least Betsy didn't like Rogue.
Psylocke 2 jumps on the scene and she kind of confirms that like the Betsy that is attacking them is in fact not Betsy Braddock and they need a real psychic to watch their back. So we're like getting this introspective thing on it. And again, the story stays strong. Like it stays not strong. It stays consistent with what it's been since issue 12 for Betsy. The second part of that, again, like I was saying, is this cast. You are waiting for these characters to kind of connect with each other. You think that they should connect with each other. You see like Rogue and Jubilee and Betsy, and you remember like, oh, they were on the team together in the 90s and like they should have all this history. You see like Richter, who kind of like knows all of them peripherally. Again, you had Apocalypse on the team and he had history with like Gambit and he does all of these things and it's just not clicking. And you're just like, why are these people not talking? Why don't they seem as close as they say that they are? And again, it's like you said, like, why is Rogue running around so worried about Betsy? Her and Betsy, like, think of you can't think of a heart-to-heart conversation that Rogue and Betsy have ever had prior to Excalibur.
No.
And
it's they've been on teams. They've been on teams together. Yes.
Yes.
But like, so not enough for her to be like, this is my girl. I gotta
go
save my girl.
And it's like, and even when they do kind of talk, it's almost kind of like in an antagonistic way. They're typically like fighting or like sparring together. Like they're butting heads in some form or fashion. It very much gives off like we're only friends because we have mutual friends. But then when you think about it, a lot of the female characters that Betsy is closest with, Rogue isn't friends with. Like right. Dazzler is Betsy's best friend. When Rogue and Betsy were on the team together in the Outback, it was like when Rogue was kind of a brat, and so Betsy didn't get along with her, and she was closer with the Carol Danvers personality.
Speak on
her and Storm were like ride or dies, and like I don't know, are Rogue and Storm close?
I don't know. I feel like I don't know. I feel like again that's a case of like they've been around each other, but I can't really think of like any of heart to heart kind of moments or thing like that where they had a connection like that.
And so it's kind of like, you look at Rogue and Betsy and it's like, y'all don't even like really y'all don't really hang with each other like that. And so the person who actually should be taking the spot that Rogue is doing is Jubilee, who is actually close with Betsy. Like she helped save her from the first time, like she was on the X-Men, she was with Wolverine when she was first changed. Like they actually had
she was there,
they like bonded. Like Jubilee should be the one running around like, why does nobody care? Where is she? But she's so busy being like a mom. And then you have Richter, who, while I do actually kind of enjoy the relationship that Teenie is trying to build between Betsy and Richter, just because it's new, like the way he was calling her out on like some of her privileges in earlier issues, and she's kind of been protective of him. This Richter just feels like a completely different character.
It is a whole different character.
Yeah, and so it's like, okay, like it's nice that you're building this, but it's like it's also weird because it's like this just isn't the Richter that I know. And so then you have Gambit, who is just completely useless on this team. And again, you're looking at him, it's like Gambit, him and Betsy have never been super close. And then when you think about some of the male characters who Betsy is closest with, Wolverine, Bishop, Warren, those are all people who Gambit doesn't get along with.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like that, and that's where Marauders differs for me with Excalibur. So it's like, even though Marauders kind of underutilizes his cast, also, at least when Iceman or Bishop do randomly appear, it actually works, and you still feel some type of like connection with the team because they are
Mm-hmm.
close with like Emma and Kitty and Storm and whoever. Like, yeah, those are relationships. So Excalibur is falling flat because it's like, why are these people here?
Right, right.
And so it's just kind of like, and that's why, and again, that's why I feel when you get to the stuff with Betsy and the Braddock family, it feels so much stronger. Like, and everything is great and it reads really well because it's like, oh, these are characters who are actually connected, and like Teeny is really doing a good job at that. So it's like, I think the book will always kind of suffer as long as this cast is here, because you can replace some of these people. You can still honestly have them in the background and do nothing if that's just what you're going to do. That's perfectly fine. But they need to be characters who can actually connect with the person who you're telling this main story about.
Yeah. I wish that they, if the main story in this is going to be Betsy and mutant magic, if they don't have a connection to Betsy, which I don't think a lot of these characters do, Jubilee does, like we just discussed. There was someone on Twitter, I can't think about their name right now, but they told me that they feel like Rogue is the type of person who all of her teammates she looks at as like being close to her, but that doesn't always mean that the other person is looking at her the same way, which I can totally agree with that. I think that, Rogue probably looks at Betsy like, oh, that's Betsy, we go back. But Betsy is like, girl, we're not friends. Which I think is totally valid. I don't think everybody has to be, these tight friends in this kumbaya circle together.
And
But if they
again,
don't,
and
if
no,
they
go
don't
ahead.
have a
Sorry.
connection with Betsy, they should have some kind of connection to this mutant magic thing. So I know there was a talk of whether or not Rogue was trying to have kids in the beginning. Maybe there was something she was trying to use mutant magic to, like, I don't know. I don't know if she has control over her powers or not, because I don't know what's going on there. But if she doesn't, maybe she could use mutant magic to like get some kind of control over her powers or something. Or you know, uh maybe uh is Rachel really in this book, or was she kind of only just in there just to be used for her telepathy to give it's Rogue powers?
I think she was just used to give her powers. But Tina, Leah, and Vita are all very close, so they tend to kind of use each other's characters in their books
Okay,
also.
that makes sense. But like, or Richter, I guess he is kind of exploring mutant magic, but it's kind of falling a little flat to me because he's feeling like a completely different character. I would have rather have seen if there was this thing about how his powers weren't really working in the beginning, and like, Apocalypse helped him. We still don't really
Yeah.
know what actually happened. Maybe then we could kind of see that he was like learning how mutant magic helped stabilize his powers, and it's not magic in the literal sense of like a power. For me, it feels like she's talking about magic in like a, not a literal sense, but like a as a concept. So like
So the
anything where people are doing things of the impossible, it's like that's considered magic because it is magical that you're able to do these things. Is different than like what the baseline should be. At least that's how I've been interpreting it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's pretty much it. So the way I've been going in, and when you go, and so a big thing that's also helped me is that like I've had to go back into the data pages and kind of read it, because that's where a lot of the explanation of the mutant magic is happening, and that's why I say that Excalibur is kind of a frustrating book, and why I feel like the art could help some with certain things, because there are certain, like, to your point about Richter and like Apocalypse and them helping each other, there are certain things and times where they were together saying things that I felt like the art could have kind of helped explain that better, like with gestures that they were making, or like in the way they were standing, or just communicating with each other, that don't really get shown. And when it comes to mutant magic, so the way I've read it is, again, like I said, mutant magic, it kind of is a new way of life. The Krakoan gates, since they have been built, have been giving off energy. And mutant magic comes from harnessing that energy, which is different from like humans who find it from mystical means and things like that. And so when these mutants like kind of harness that energy together within that circle, it makes their power stronger. And it's why like in 18, Richter talks about Rogue channeling the energy. It's why Apocalypse had Rogue siphon that energy from the gate in the very beginning, because it was building up to help crash the portal that was in Otherworld, and then we do things like where he needs the werewolf heads to actually help empower them. And so it kind of gives it, like, that's why mutant magic in itself is like a very interesting concept, because it is a lot of things you could do with it, especially with these mutants combining their powers and using this energy. It gets frustrating because it just hasn't been that well explained. and then it's like, and it's because of the fact that Teeny wrote it intentionally that way, because the thing is, she wanted people to kind of figure it out for themselves. But I think, she kind of overestimated the amount of information that the audience would already have in terms of like what magic is as a concept. So I think there needed to be a little bit more hand holding in her explanation. And I feel like she's trying to rectify that with this current arc, which again has been very strong, or as strong as it has been for the last few issues. It just feels out of place. Like this should have been happening in the beginning.
Yes, this definitely should have been happening in the beginning. But I get the whole, I feel like they probably just had to come back to it because X of Swords probably kind of, rocked it out of its order. This probably could have happened directly after the Apocalypse stuff in the beginning, before X of Swords. And then we kind of would have gotten a little bit more into like the mutant magic before we just got, halted by that. But then again, X of Swords also like kind of helped this book for me. I don't know.
Again, and that was when issue 12, like it was like the prelude to X of Swords. Like that's when this I've always kind of said like the first 12 issues of Excalibur are frustrating, and a lot of it was to set up for X of Swords. And I feel like everything since X of Swords has been narratively consistently riding a wave. It's just like the big two things that are still kind of like holding it back from achieving what could be potential greatness is it needs stronger artists to help pick up the slack of where the story kind of falls, and it needs a better cast to actually anchor it emotionally.
Now, I also know that, people feel how they want to about Gambit. Not everybody's a fan. But regardless, we all have to agree that his thief costume is gross, right?
All the costumes in this book.
Because even if you don't like him, he don't deserve to be in that.
Like it's truly and like my biggest hope for this book. I got it. I understand why we were doing it. X of Swords is over. It is time for this book to get a overhaul in terms of the aesthetic. The Dungeons and Dragons theme does not work. I've said that from the beginning. Like I actually really enjoy Betsy's Captain Britain costume, but I've always said that she needed something else because it will not fit outside of the theme of this book. I remember that that cover Mark Brooks did for the Fantastic Four and X-Men miniseries that was going on, and like he had Betsy in his Captain Britain suit on it, and it's like, oh, okay, like these are all very big important X-Men. It's like it's great that Betsy's on that, but it's like she also still kind of looks out of place in this like magical armor with everybody running around in spandex.
right. She looking like a knight while everybody else looks like superheroes.
And it's like, and I think it's easy to do for this book. Excalibur has always been that thing that kind of rides like the magical multiversal space wave. So I think you can do a lot of stuff with that. I personally, I'm a big fan of like an all black starry type of costume. I would love something kind of along those lines in there if we can get that. Or, just if they want to be like magic space knights or something, like it works. It's actually interesting how I think this book and S.W.O.R.D could actually like combine a lot of their stuff that they have going on, especially like in terms of like S.W.O.R.D, and we'll talk about that again when we get to S.W.O.R.D, but like S.W.O.R.D, how it's doing like space and like these different universes, and Otherworld being this gateway to the multiverse, and like going through all of these different spaces, which that's an idea I've
the
got.
Concept, huh? I think you probably just want this book to be as good as S.W.O.R.D, but
maybe I want to see Al Ewing write a little bit of Betsy. I won't lie about that. But overall, I do think Excalibur 18. I think it is fine. I think
It's fine. Yeah, it's fine.
I think it is consistently fine. It's time for art change. It's time for the cast to be moved around, and it would be an easy thing to do. That I feel like you could even have Pixie in this book. Pixie and Betsy are literally closer than Pixie and Gambit. I mean, than Betsy and Gambit are. Okay.
Yes. There's no reason that Pixie shouldn't be in this book, other than the fact that she's about to be in that Way of X book. But I don't know if you can really move this cast around to other books, because I'm not really sure where you would place a lot of them. I just think they just need stories, which I think you can get out of this book. You just have to do it.
So honestly, and I'm going to be completely honest with you. I don't think any of the other characters outside of Richter, who again kind of feels like a new character, I don't think there's any story you can tell with Rogue, Gambit, or Jubilee in this book.
Nothing. There was no like.
I do not see it whatsoever. I don't think they fit with the whole sense
of
what
if Rogue was like trying to bring back figure out destiny or whatever, and with magic, could you give her that story, like her figuring out where's destiny?
I don't see it. I can see that story for Rogue asking where's destiny, but I don't necessarily think that has to be an Excalibur. Like, I think she can do that anywhere. Right. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I don't think any of these characters fit in this book, and I think they should all be moved and new ones should be brought in. Ones again who either have a connection to Betsy or who just fit the entire theme of like the mutant culture and connection of energies and magic and all of that stuff. All of these characters are too separated from each other to do that.
Rogue is also really popular, so she could be helping, like, you know, push the book. So I feel like that is a big perk for her to be in it. I just don't know where else you would kind of put her or Jubilee. Granted, anybody could be on Marauders, but like literally anybody could be on that. Again, do you even really want to be over there? Because the only people being used are Emma and Shadowcat. But I just wasn't sure where you can kind of really place others. So
I don't really
again, I feel like they could get some. I feel like at this point, I feel like they could be in the book. They just need something to do, something of importance to do.
Okay. So that was Excalibur 18. And so ending the list off, S.W.O.R.D. number 3.
Loved it.
Fantastic.
Loved it.
You know, I don't am I an Al Ewing fanboy? Do I come off like one?
You are one. You gotta come off like shit. You are one.
You know, when you're hot, you're hot. I can't.
Yeah, I mean,
when you got it, I will always give the people their due.
Yeah,
he's got it.
Yeah.
What an issue for Manifold. Manifold fans won this week.
Yeah, they did, because this issue was great. I felt like, you know, we never really get any kind of Manifold. I'm not like a big Manifold fan, but you know, I like him. He's I liked when he was on the Avengers and stuff. He's fun. He's cool. But again, he's just one of those characters that was just always there, usually because they just needed a teleporter. Again, he is in this book because of his teleporting abilities. However, he is being used, you know, and actually getting some kind of shine, which I think is important for when you have a cast, which, you know, we just discussed. Everybody's got a place and a duty and a role to play. So you see him kind of bounce around. Also, I felt like the art in this was really good.
Yeah, Valerio Fiti is like amazing, and then he had
Valerio's amazing
doing colors, like fantastic.
I really love Valerio. I think I might be a Valerio stan.
So no, I definitely am. And so I first came across Valerio like years ago. And I think I said this before. He drew Journey into Mystery when Catherine Amon was writing it, and the story was centering around Sif, and so like, to watch him go from that, where I loved his art, thought it was great there, to like where it is now, it's fantastic. It's just been like a joy to see. He's amazing. I remember once I actually tweeted him. So this was around the time when Betsy was wearing that Chris Anka suit. I like tweeted him. I was like, oh, I would love to see like you draw this. I would love to see you draw Betsy. And he like drew a sketch of her in the costume.
Oh, that's cool. Just right then and
He
there. Oh, that's
just right then
cool.
and there. I was like, oh, that's dope. I was like, yeah. I was like,
That's
same.
dope. That's awesome. Come on, original Vallejo work. Yeah, so in this issue, you see him like teleporting and bouncing all around. You see him go back to Australia and meet up with some old friends, I guess you can kind of call them. Um, and I've always been confused about his connection to Gateway. Um, but I like the fact that they said that he was like, I mean, they didn't really necessarily confirm that that was like his father or anything like that, which I liked. I don't think everybody with the same powers have to be connected to each other.
Mm,
Um, but I did like that, he's supposed to be like an elder, as in like just an older guy that he probably respects or whatever.
yeah.
Because they do have somewhat similar powers. And you learn that, Manifold isn't necessarily a teleporter in the traditional sense, that he is actually like communicating with space. And, Brand says that he's telling it what to do, but he says that he's just asking it what to do,
Mm,
which makes sense that because, a manifold is like when things are like crashing all around each other and like, all that energy and stuff, which is what his powers are. Um, Now, he had been like bopping around and doing like some secret mission and like trying to get like these aliens to come and help out with the whole Null King in Black situation. Again,
mm,
um, Ewing has a very, very great way of tying in a book to like the main plot or whatever, the main story that's going on for his tie-in issues, but not have it take away from his book. Because again, this was a King in Black tie-in, but it didn't feel that way at all. It
at
felt
all.
very much, it felt very
I
much
completely
like
forgot until we got to the end.
right. It was very much a like manifold focused issue. And it because Earth is shut off from everyone, they can't communicate, and it's been taken over by Null. They are out in space, and Manifold is trying to communicate with these aliens to see if they would come and help out. And return, he was going to give them mutants, which they said that they volunteered. This like Lifter and Burner were their names. Some random mutants, I'm assuming that Ewing made up. I don't think they've ever been
No,
like
I think they've
used.
existed before.
What?
Yeah,
Really?
I'm pretty sure they've existed before. I'll look it up, but I'm my D list senses were tingling. Like I'm pretty sure I've heard those names before. I've read
Okay, I
something
believe
before.
you. You be knowing about the most random characters. I guarantee you probably know their whole backstory. It'll come
It's
to you.
honestly why it's honestly why I love Al Ewing, because he pulls the
He
most
does.
obscure characters from out of nowhere, and I'm just like, yes, the
Yeah, he
treasure
does.
trove.
and utilizes them in great ways. So like they offered themselves to be used and taken by these aliens who they have been kind of harvesting superpowered people because they want to use their powers and make their own kind of weapons with these people. They don't even have a planet. They just have like ships because they're just going around collecting all these people. And they decline because they said Null is taking out a bunch of our enemies, and we don't even have a planet, and our enemies have planets. So why would we take out Null? Who's going to take out our enemies? Which I
Okay.
thought was a very great point. Um, so that didn't even work out the way that Manifold thought that it would. He ends up like coming back and spying on Henry Gyrick, which is Gyrick has always been around like since I don't even know, a long time ago from the
Yeah.
Avengers days, way back in the day. And he's been the government liaison for superheroes, but he like hates them. So
It's always so,
he's
and they always do, don't they?
don't they? And so he's been the person who's been connecting S.W.O.R.D with the US government. Now he has this whole phone call with someone, and uh he's been going over like, oh, I've got the schematics here, I'm like looking at it, but it's the redacted form. And Manifold gets these really cool abilities with his powers, which my physics nerd jumped out because it all makes sense, like the physics of it. So he uses, because he's able to bend space in order, that's how he like teleports. If you bend the space around you and don't let light come through it, that's how you create like invisibility. But it's an invisibility like not necessarily a cloak, because he also can't see through that space, if that makes sense. So like
Mm-hmm.
he's covered in this warped energy, this like invisibility field, but he also can't see through it himself. So he has to like kind of make a peephole for himself to peep out through, which I thought was really cool. Also, if he's not letting light in, on his end, with the on his side of that invisibility cloak, it's supposed to be dark. So his invisibility powers were completely different than like a Sue Storm, who she just lets light like pass through her. I don't know. I'm getting super like science with it.
You are, that is not my forte.
That's my thing. But anyway, I thought that was really, really cool. So shout out to Ewing. He like does his research for this stuff. I thought that was dope. And so he like makes his peephole when he's been like watching Gyrich, and sure enough, Gyrich has plans for like Orcus. And X-Men fans know what Orcus is. We saw that back in House of X and Powers of X. And it's all of the human people coming together to have their own organization against superpowered beings, mutants, and all of that. But Manifold leaves too early and misses out on hearing Gyrich say that, oh, this is all I can get from my mole in Shield.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, in Sword, which I thought was really cool. That like, oh man, we now know that there's a mole there, but Manifold, if he would have stayed for an extra second, he would have heard that too. So I thought that was a really dope setup.
Mm-hmm.
He returns and shit hits the fan because again, it looks like the next issue will also be a King in Black. How long is King in Black?
That's what I'm saying. It's too long. This is not like, it's not okay anymore. I'm writing a letter.
It's time.
I'm writing a letter to Marvel today. And I'm saying enough.
And make sure it's all filled out right, because it's time. We got to move on.
Like, so you mentioned something about Manifold and his relation to Gateway, and one thing that I've kind of really realized I would like is and we were talking about Marauders a little bit earlier, so that's again why I'm thinking about this, is Bishop and a deep dive into his like family and his relationships, because I've been thinking about him a lot, and how S.W.O.R.D is like one of the few mutants who cannot come back to Krakoa because she technically died before they came back, so Xavier never would have been able to get a imprint of her.
Oh yeah, that's right.
But we have been told by Chris Claremont via Extreme X-Men that Gateway is Bishop's great grandfather, I think, or like his great great. They're related.
Oh yeah.
And so I would love to see kind of what would go on with like Bishop finding some agency in this current present time, because I think that's a big thing that's been with like his character. He's always felt a little detached from everybody because like he is from the future, he knows what's going on, blah 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 blah. Finally kind of getting some family and just some more delving into his parentage, and like it will also be cool to see Gateway, Manifold, and Bishop all together interacting.
Yeah, I think that there's a larger issue there that we'll probably have to talk about when we get to the panel about
Definitely
Black characters. But I feel like I didn't know that. I wonder if Bishop like is he born yet in our timeline? Right? I shouldn't ask. Forget it.
That is like not the question to ask.
Forget it. That's doing too deep. Yeah. But I liked S.W.O.R.D a lot. This issue. Ewing.
It's definitely coming for X-Men Spot as the best X book.
I wouldn't go that far.
Oh, I would. It's coming. It's coming. You better get ready.
We'll see. I'm definitely in.
You fought me on this when I first said that X-Men was the best X book. All right.
No, I didn't. X-Men was X-Men. What else would I say was the best X book other than X-Men?
There was something else. I'm pretty sure it was X-Force, probably, actually.
Absolutely not. No. Absolutely not. Number one has always been X-Men. Hickman.
Well, people were fighting me. Oh, that is true. You are a Hickman fan. People were fighting me about X-Men being the best X book. People are still fighting me actually to this day. And let me tell you, I'm gonna die on that hill, and until S.W.O.R.D overtakes it, then
I don't know about that one. We'll see.
But yeah, so those are the books. Oh, do you read a book called Low from Image?
I don't. No, I don't. I've seen stuff about that though, right? Isn't that Remender?
It is Reminder and Greg Tocini on art. So basically, it's Earth dies because of like radiation and it becomes too hot to live. So all of the people retreat under the ocean. Like they have like hydrodomes and things like that and all this stuff. So, but while they also do that, they sent these things out into space to try and find a place that was hospitable for them. And so they finally come back to Earth. And since it was made to withstand the pressures of deep space, it can withstand the pressures of the ocean. So someone has to go back up to the surface to like get the probes to bring them down so they can like start to study and all that stuff like that. Where the book is now, the probes have like been found and they're going to the next part of it. But I was just asking, I think it's something that you would be interested in.
Okay, maybe I have to check that out there.
It's
Sounds
like
interesting.
very far. It's like on its 26th issue or something like that. But
Oh wow. Okay.
also, yeah. But you know, like how image books are, it kind of takes a while for them to come out
Uh,
anyway. So it's
yeah.
something. It's just something that I thought. You know, I read issue 26. It was good, so that's why.
Okay. Okay. Maybe I check that out there.
But that was all the comics for the week. You know, let's go ahead and take a break.
Let's do it. All right, everybody. Welcome back to another relaunch. We're going to do the panel section this week. And this week, I wanted to talk about Black DC characters.
Okay, Black History Month.
Yeah, it's Black History Month. I wanted to have a Black focused panel this week and specifically focus on the DC characters because there's a lot across, all the other people too. So I wanted to give everybody the time to like shine. So with DC and their Black characters, their very first Black superhero was, my fave, Jon Stewart.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like they don't really have as many like prominent Black characters as say a Marvel does. And I kind of just wanted to give a quick talk about that. So first off, who are like some of your favorite Black characters, Black DC characters?
A couple.
Okay. Let me see what you got.
So I love Cyborg, obviously.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that actually.
Yeah, I did a relaunch on Cyborg.
Oh, that's right. I remember now.
I love Cyborg. Again, I'm a huge New Teen Titans fan. That entire era,
Right.
I think Cyborg. I like John's Titans. I've said this stuff about Justice League. I actually find Cyborg immensely interesting. I just don't think he's ever given anything to do. Vixen, obviously, we all know I love a doll. I love a pretty girl. Great powers, great potential. Always gonna just have her down. Black Lightning is also another character who I really enjoy. I think he has been he's been consistent across DC as like being an important staple while also still being a little underrated into like what he does and the prominence he gets. But I'll never forget during that one era, it's this like Justice League page. It has the Trinity and Black Lightning standing together. And it was like when Hawkgirl and Roy finally joined the Titans, that entire era. And it felt right. Like you just look at the panel, it's just like, yes, Black Lightning should be standing next to these people. And even when you think about him in certain media, the television show he has, him and Young Justice, like he feels important. And so it's like I've always really appreciated that for him. I love his kids, Thunder and Lightning. I think they're both great.
Yeah, I love them.
Joaquin Power from the JSA, he was really fun. I actually found out he came back in the Rebirth era, but like it's giving very much hey fellow kids and like
no.
he's like a very stereotypical Black youth teen. He's got it's just like okay, this is happening. Obviously I think one of the biggest ones is for me is always going to be Aqualad Jackson.
Yeah. Is it specifically Jackson versus like Calderon? Do you differentiate the two?
I do differentiate the two, but I don't really have a specific like difference in love for the two characters. I think you've known me for a very long time, and anyone who's followed me for a very long time knows that like I am a huge Aquaman fan. It has been my thing. Like one of the very first comics I got into, love the character. I love the ocean in general. I love water and things like that. So it was like it always resonated.
I mean, Jackson
with
is
me.
basically you.
Okay, so, like legit, I'll never forget when the Young Justice cartoon came out and like Jackson was on there, and I was like, DC like definitely stole my likeness, threw some blonde hair on it, and was like, this is like
this is
Keaton.
how we're
So
gonna steal his Nike likeness. Just throw some blonde hair on it.
I was like, this is what we're like doing right now, and so I was like, they definitely made me as a comic book character, and so like, and that's why it was like so funny when the Rebirth era came about and they made Jackson gay.
Yeah,
because it was like no, because it's like no, you're really trying me right now.
Exactly.
You're legit putting me in a comic book and like trying to pass it off to someone else. And so it's like he's always going to be up there for me, like no matter what. I know a lot of people talk about comic book representation mattering and like having one character who they kind of like click with. I know Static was always a really big one for you.
Yeah, Static was a really big one for me. Like the same way I was just like Aqualad is literally you. Static when I was a kid and probably even now was literally just me. Yeah. He is a nerdy kid who likes science and rap music. And likes to read comic books, but also play video games. That's all me. And and he was also like not like some crazy like jock kind of type character, but he also wasn't like the kind of pushover nerd either. I don't know. It felt like me. Like it felt very like I saw myself being represented in Static. So he's definitely one of my favorites.
I was like, this kind of like cold, reserved kid, because I was a little mean back in the day. Well, I wasn't mean
back in the day.
What? People say things. I don't know.
They do. They be talking child. Yeah, I mean, some of my other favorites were obviously John Stewart is one of my. It's funny how like the characters that you named that lined up were kind of lined up with mine as well. Like when you said, Black Lightning, mine would be John Stewart. And John to me was always a favorite because again, kind of like with that representation thing, like I saw the Black character and as a kid, I was mostly kind of drawn to people's powers more so than the characters per se. So if you had powers that I liked, then I would get into you that way. Versus now, I'm more so interested in the story and the character and how they reflect and relate to me. Versus, when I was a kid, I just like the flashy powers or whatever. So when as a kid, Green Lantern, I like those abilities or whatever. I think they're really cool. And John Stewart, being a Black one, I was like, okay, cool. I like that one because I look like that. That's dope. And then when I started to read up on his background and stuff, he felt like a real character to me. And he felt like me, where it was, I am Black and I want everybody to know that I'm Black and I'm just out here doing the best that I can. And that's pretty much John. And he's always been like the level-headed one and like really stops and thinks things out, which has always been kind of me, not really rushing into something and thinking first. Sometimes to his own detriment, where you overthink and you're a little overcautious. So I really liked John. I also really liked Vixen. Vixen is a character to me, which I think kind of needs an update. And I think that kind of happens with a lot of Black characters where they get stuck in whatever kind of mode that they were kind of introduced as. They never really get to like evolve because the writers who write them usually are white and they are going to write them the way that they remember them as kids and that's usually them being stuck in the 80s. Which can be very annoying. And I feel like Vixen,
and that was turning into the 90s and they did
exactly
they were prominent in the 90s, so it's like you're not gonna see them.
exactly bury that. And I feel like Vixen is one that could easily be updated. Like her whole model motif or whatever. I feel like they don't look at like real life examples.
Mhm.
How many other like models, but all they did their whole life was only model. A lot of them end up, when they're becoming big moguls, they have other avenues that they go in, makeup, a clothing line, anything like that. I think that they could easily have her be like have a multitude of things for her to do. But again, that would require someone to actually like look into that and make something more of it. Bishop, kind of like what you said before, has this problem that a lot of the DC characters I think have, and that's not having family or
Mm.
like a connected history. The one thing about John is he has a lot of space stories, but his Earth stories you don't really ever get to see a lot of like John and his life outside of
Mhm.
being a Green Lantern and what that means for him. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
you,
Who is he as
he's
a person?
older.
Like who's he dating? Does he
Yeah,
got like a baby mama somewhere?
anything like that. Like he has dated before, he's been married before, but it was all like alien stuff. It wasn't anything, which is
Mm.
fine. That's great. And I'm sure there's a story you can tell there, but I feel like to kind of make them feel a little bit more black, you got to show a little bit of their history and show a little bit of like what they're connected to.
Yeah.
Outside of what does being a black superhero mean to them? Like, okay, we get that. Now we want to
Mhm.
see like them be a black superhero. And
Yeah.
I think one way you could start is really like trying to give them like some of their some family or some kind of
And
connection to it.
it's like I think that's a big reason why those other history of the DC universe issues hit so heavy for us, because
Mm-hmm.
like we saw that really like grounded what like you're a black superhero. What does that actually mean? Like you dig into the mindset of like you said, it was mainly about Black Lightning, but we got a little bit of John Stewart, and you kind of got to see his point
Mm-hmm.
of view of how he was and how he was that first black superhero in doing things. We got to see Bumblebee and Mal and how they felt being like the kind of left out black titans and what that meant for them and how that looked. And I think it's something that a lot of the DC characters can go for. I think that happens with a lot of them, that they get stuck in like the mold of like kind of like
Mm-hmm.
who you say. So like DC characters in general kind of like get stuck in the mold of like what they're supposed to be because you're constantly rebooting. And I think the black characters are both kind of at a benefit and disadvantage for this, because it's
Mm-hmm.
like the reboots happen a lot but they get left out of a lot of them, so you don't have as many different iterations to work off of, so it's a little bit easier to center their personalities and like who they are than it is for some of these other ones,
Right.
and or build them
It's
up
like
into
they
something
could
new.
go off of an old example because that's the only example out there.
Yeah. And build them into something new. But I think it's kind of like you said, a lot of those people who were writing comics, they remember them from when they were kids in the 80s, and it's like then they stopped appearing. And so a lot of people who are writing comics now were like reading, oh, I mean, yeah, writing comics now were reading in the 90s, and these characters weren't really there. And so it's got to
Mm-hmm.
come to a thing where it's just talks about a problem as a whole that's bigger, where you have to get more black people and other people of color into the writers room and writing
Yes.
these books. And I've talked about it before, where I remember Christopher Priest did an interview and he said like he didn't want to be the black writer. He didn't only want to write black comic book characters. And it was like, okay, like I kind of get what you're going for, but at the same time, like nobody else is going to write these people. So
Right. Right.
so you have to do something with them, please, sir. It's like I get what you're trying to go for, but these stories won't really start to feel as grounded and authentic as they can be until you start getting those people to write them.
Yeah, I think that you have to start getting more black people in the room to actually add that black experience to the characters. Otherwise, they just feel like, fan service, or like you're just trying to like fill a quota. And I would prefer for the characters to feel a lot more authentic and feel more real. Um, I think that there are some characters that they could obviously do a lot more with. than others, but I think that a lot of them can really just start to get real pushes. A problem that I end up having with a lot of the Black characters is they come across like a stereotype, or they are written in a way where the writer's trying to make them cool, but it comes across like you kind of said, that whole "Hey fellow kids" thing, like, you know, why we don't need, Vixen making an Idris Elba like joke or comparison. We really don't. And I mean, that happened to her in most recent that Truth and Justice book, and I was like, this is weird. Like,
Oh, one written by Jeff Thorne.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, see.
Yeah. So and I don't want this to sound like, I guess, ageist in a way, but I really think, especially now in this current age, that Marvel and DC have to start reaching out to younger, new talent for their writing. They're like kind of consistently going back to the older writers who they've always had, who wrote books in the 70s and the 80s, which is fine. Like, they can absolutely still write books if they need to, but you can't let them be the only ones. Because you're not getting, they're still writing like they're in the 70s and 80s sometimes, and it's like, it's just not going to work, and these characters aren't going to connect with the modern readers. Comic books have changed a lot, like the way that they're written, the way that they're produced, the way that they're sold, the way that they're consumed. The market itself has changed. The type of people who are reading them has changed. You're getting brand new fans. I'll admit, the movies probably don't bring in like many people to comic books, but I'm pretty sure like out of 15,
they could if they started marketing them that way.
Okay. But I'm pretty sure for like every 15 MCU or DCEU fan, you'll find like 2 who might want to read a comic book. And then, that younger person is going to read something, and they're going to see, like you said, Vixen talking about Idris Elba, and or they're going to see Vixen talking, I don't know, who do the young people like Justin Bieber?
Yeah. I don't think the kids like him no more, but I get your point.
You know what I'm saying? Like, don't nobody want to read about Vixen talking about Justin Bieber. Like, it's just not like, and it's like, no, you can't do that. So it's like, you have to find these people who are a little bit younger, who are a little bit more connected to what's going on, who aren't sitting back on Twitter talking about Magneto is like Hitler or whatever Jeff Thorne says. That's ridiculous. You're just a little out of touch, and it's cool. And so it's like, you got to get some new folks in to like really help elevate.
It's just sometimes when I read some of the Black characters, they sound like what my dad would think I would sound like. If that makes sense. Even though like my dad knows me, but like he doesn't hear me talk with like you or something like that. You know what I mean? Like the way the conversation you and I would have is different than what I would have with my dad. But he could probably guess what it is, and I'm sure he'd fill in the blanks of what he sees in the media. But that's not me all the time. There's a finesse and a nuance to it, and I feel like, kind of like you said, I don't want to be ageist with it, but I feel like a lot of the Black characters could benefit from being written by younger writers and younger talent.
It's just, I'm not that old. I get it. It's just like, you got to sometimes let the new people take control, and it's okay to like step back and move into a different role. You know what I'm saying? Especially like once you hit a certain level in the industry. I think about like the Milestone reboot that's happening right now. I think about Milestone as a whole, like those men who started that company and like the things that they did. Legends. Always going to respect them, always going to love them, always going to appreciate them, always going to give them what they deserve.
Dwayne McDuffie and Issa Rae are probably my biggest creative influences ever. Dwayne McDuffie and like what he did with superheroes and stuff is iconic.
Out of this world, like forever grateful. I also don't need any of them to ever write a comic book again.
Right.
And I say that with like so much love and respect to all of them. But it's like, no, like you're just not attuned to the streets like you think you are. Like if you have again, I think about that Falcon comic that Rodney Barnes wrote, and they had the new Patriot in there, and they had the new Patriot making. No, I won't even use that one. I won't even use that as an example. I'll use Aqualad, since we're talking about DC characters. When Aqualad first joined the Teen Titans during Rebirth, and this is also like because Benjamin Percy wrote it. That's why I'm laughing right now.
Oh wow!
Yeah, like when Aqualad meets Black Manta for the first time, and he's kind of like talking about, "I'm your son. These are some of my favorite things." This is what I like. One of the things he has Aqualad say is like, "My favorite band is the Wu-Tang Clan."
Child, white people. Child,
you know,
that's like, white people's favorite rap group.
It's like, and I'm like thinking about it. I'm like, why would this child's favorite band be Wu-Tang Clan? Like, why? And so like, and so then when I'm like, okay, maybe it would have been better if a black guy wrote it. But then I think back to like the Rodney Barnes series when he did the Falcon, he had Ray Sean, and like Ray Sean, I also thought about it, like he was in there talking about Beyonce and Jay-Z, and like had Falcon talking about the Wu-Tang Clan and like stuff like that. And I'm like,
the Wu-Tang Clan.
Why? Like, why are we talking about this? Like, this is like, I'm sorry, like I'm not talking to any adult like about the Wu-Tang Clan. And it's like my younger siblings, I'm very close with my young cousin. You know, I've spoken about her and like how she stands Black Widow and she gets upset anytime I say something negative about her.
That's so cute.
So, you know, like when I talk to my little cousin, you know what I'm saying? She's not like bringing up Jay-Z and Beyonce to me every 5 seconds. If anything, I'm bringing up Beyonce and Jay-Z.
right.
I'm like, did you watch Homecoming yet? Like, what's going on? You know? So it's just like, they're just not as attuned to the streets as they think.
She's like looking up TikTok dances and stuff. And
you know what I'm saying? And it's like, and it is A-okay for these older writers to be like, we built it, like we're just gonna stand in the background, we're gonna let you guys like push out the new content, we're gonna create, we can oversee it, we can help build the world, we can do all the stuff, but like we're going to let you younger guys take the reins and do what needs to be done.
Now, you know, like Static is, after Green Lantern, Static is like my favorite DC character. But I always put like an asterisk next to that because he's like a milestone character. They don't really know if he's officially in the DC universe or what's really going on there. With this whole rebirth of the milestone characters, are they on their own Earth M or what? I guess I don't know. M. Okay, that's kind of what I thought, that they were on Earth M, which makes sense now because, like, didn't you say like they could the whole multiverse is open? You can pretty much do whatever you want to do. So basically, it's whatever. But my thing with Static, it will always be, he's kind of like what got me into DC and like what is such like a favorite character of mine. My issue with that is like a lot of these Black characters, they end up being like crystallized in what they were when they first were introduced. And I feel like Static is getting this reboot, and I really like that like redesign that they came out with. My only problem with that is I hope that he is allowed to grow up, because when Static first was created and introduced, he was like 14, 15 years old, which was like my age at the time. So I connected with that. And however, I'm 30 now. And although Static is like my favorite character, I don't really want to see Static as a 14-year-old. I'd rather see Static. He doesn't have to be my age, which I get. You want to also still appeal to a younger audience, but you could still have him, age him up a little bit and make him, you know, a senior in high school or something, or, you know, a freshman in college instead of a freshman in high school, so that you can start to tell fresher, newer stories and still make him young, you know, and still make him connect with a young audience. I think that 14-year-old market right now is kind of taken by Miles Morales. And yes, you can say that there's obviously room for more than enough, but why wouldn't you want to kind of elevate the character? And I feel like what happens with a lot of the Black characters, they never really get elevated. They just get brought back in as a reminder of who they were and what they were capable of doing, and then that's kind of it.
Yeah, I can agree.
Who do you think has been the biggest, like, I guess, elevated Black DC character for them? Cyborg, when he got pushed to Justice League?
It'd definitely probably be Cyborg and Jackson. I think, at least in the media,
Yeah,
I think they kind of like run that. In terms of Jackson's journey in comics has been a little bit strange. I think it's one that's relatable. He's not really the Jackson that you've seen on the cartoon. He's kind of been going through this journey of finding himself and like becoming the hero that he is, which has like been really great and interesting to see. Cyborg, we all know his little tumultuous history in the comics and what they've been doing with him.
I will never understand why they just didn't use Black Lightning or Vixen. Like, they were sitting right there. Why didn't you just push them?
So that's been I guess you can always give a shout out to Duke being like, kind of pushed. He got that big start in that We Are Robin series, and then moving on to actually becoming a big part of the Bat family and kind of like their daytime response to
That's true. He's been
heroics.
kept around too.
I guess we'll have to see if that like translates to anything else. Other than that, I don't really think they've propped anybody up, which is crazy to me because they have a lot they could do.
Right?
Even like
they love wheeling them out this month.
Actually,
and showing who they got.
It's probably Naomi.
Oh, you know what? Yeah, she's getting a major push now because she's got a TV show coming, right?
TV show. She's going to be on the Justice League. Yeah, she's the one.
Yeah, she is getting that really big push. I forgot that Naomi was there. She's got like a Superman kind of history, right?
It's like a little strange though, because it's a little strange. It's not a lot there.
Yeah. I never really could get into her outside of the art being dope. I thought, Jamal Kim was amazing.
Fantastic.
But I never really liked the like Superman kind of characters. But I felt like she had like every power.
It's still kind of vague what she can do. Like there's something with like light involved. It's very like the mini series. I've read it maybe like 4 times. It is the most vague thing I've ever seen in my life.
Now, you know who I would actually like to see get a bit of a push? And that is Tanya Spears.
Oh, I love her, Power Girl. Yeah,
Power Girl.
Yeah.
I would love to see Power Girl get like a bit of a push and used more. I thought her design was cute. Her little Afro puffs were really cute.
She was real cute. And I love a character that can change size. Like that's
right.
That's a power for me. She had a semi decent role in the Deathstroke series.
When that's right.
Priest was writing that, and he had like his own little Anti-Titans team. She was in that, so that was nice. I don't know. They kind of left her for dead, and it's strange because she came out around the same time as Moon Girl, actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I know it was the same time. Damn, I remember this for a long time.
Okay, or was it? Yeah, because it was like Moon. Wait, who came out first, Moon Girl or Riri?
Well, let me look. Moon Girl.
I think it was Moon Girl came out first. Regardless, Tanya was there, and then like Moon Girl and Riri came out. But I remember like after Riri came out, Ironheart, a lot of people were like, "Oh, they had like just discovered Tanya Spears, and they were like, oh, DC's copying off Marvel with like this like really genius girl who's from MIT," and it was like, no, she's actually been here. They just don't use her.
Oh, they were created at the same time. Ironheart and Moon Girl.
Oh, they were. Okay, yeah. So
yeah.
That's, I was like, I knew it was all around that area. So it's always interesting like that they're there.
Yeah.
But I would like to see Tanya more. Her tenure as a Titan isn't really talked about.
Yeah, no, not at all. I feel like now that they have this Titans Academy coming, that would be a perfect time to just kind of throw her on there and just kind of like give her a bit of a boost.
She's fine.
But she's supposed to be older, right? I don't know if she was in that Deathstroke book. She was like already an intern at something.
Well, her thing is that she's like a child genius.
This is really smart.
She's like 15 or 16, and she was there. But I think also it's like just because of the connection to Power Girl, you can never really bring Power Girl isn't in a lot of like animated series and stuff like that, and so I guess they don't want to just introduce Tanya as like the main Power Girl. Maybe
there's probably legal things that go on with that, because I know that they probably need to keep the name, the trademark for Power Girl. Otherwise, it would go. Otherwise, I'm sure Marvel will come in and scoop that right on up, and scoop that right on up. You know how their litigators are with stuff like that, so they probably needed to keep the name Power Girl, so they had her out there. But maybe then it might be that trademark might be coming up soon, so she can get another push, and they need to like bring her back out. But I would like to see like more of the Black DC characters get a little bit of a push and not just be the same old thing that we know them to be. You know what I mean? Like it's I like to see a lot more, and I think that it could be done.
No, I've been saying that I think that DC is on the rise when it comes to that. Just from a standpoint of like the staff and management and what they've been doing behind the scenes, they've been hiring a lot of people who seem like their intent to really make a push for diversity, which is like crazy that we still have to talk about making a push for diversity in these comic books. Right. And like kind of getting these characters out there. But I do feel like there's a lot of people who are genuine in that intent to do that. And again, like you just said, we saw the milestone characters are coming back. It's kind of like a separate thing. It's going to be a digital first series, but it's like we're taking the steps. Like we're kind of like moving towards where we need to be. So it'll be exciting to see how they do it. And again, like we kind of talked about with DC, they're at this spot now where they have all these universes that they can pull from. So maybe we can start to see some of those other characters pop up. Like Thunder and Lightning, Black Lightning's daughters have pretty much been non-existent in the New 52, despite being like very popular characters when they existed in Outsiders and the JSA. So it's like maybe this is a chance to bring them back and like do something with that.
Natasha Irons, right? Can we see some of her somewhere?
Like she's always fun. She was popping up in Supergirl. Her dad not her dad, her uncle it was dating Lana Lang. So they're fun. She also dated Tracy 13. She's a lesbian now.
Oh, we love that. I would love let's definitely wake that up then. I want more. Absolutely. I feel like we just need to also like just kind of tap into that younger audience as far as the writers and stuff goes. It seems like they only really reach out to like major like published writers, like a Ta-Nehisi Coates or I can't remember her last name, but N.K. Jemisin, I think, who writes the Far Sector book. And even that book, Far Sector, was one that like I liked the premise, but again, some of the times it felt very Hi Hello Kids because the dialogue for Joe was like trying to be hip, but like it came across weird. And I was gonna bring it up earlier that in that Justice League book, I don't know if you remembered that Joe, she asked Batman, oh, what was the first person I fell in love with when I was out on the planet or whatever? Because she was like trying to figure out if he was a white Martian. Yeah. And I don't know if you remember, the name was like this like really long, like random something of the mountain or whatever. And I think I told you in this Far Sector book, like it did too much with the alien names because you got lost in that, and you got lost in some of her dialogue that felt weird. So it's like the push is in the right places, but I feel like it could be just pushed and tapped into a little bit better and done well, so these Black characters can really get the push that I think that they deserve.
I agree with that. I know, I know there's a lot out there. I see the people on Twitter, and I think that I guess that will also be a big thing too. It's like so many people are kind of confusing like how you get out or how you make it into the comic book industry. Like obviously artists can do a little bit more because you can publish your art and like more people see it. You can get it on all these avenues. The writers, I guess, like you have to write, and everyone's not going to read the writing.
Exactly. I wish that they would, just kind of take some chances on more Black writers and trying to get them in there, because I do think having that Black voice would really help. Last question. Do you think a lot of these characters can still be popular, or do you think that we have to just make new ones and push them?
Oh, no, I think...
Now, granted, you can obviously do both, but, especially...
So I think for DC, like, Yes, they can all definitely still be popular. You can create more, but the ones we have can also still be popular just because A, there's not a lot, and then B, the ones that there are, they're pretty well known because they're the only ones. So it's like
very true. Ain't nobody else but them.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like people know who Jon Stewart is. People know who
Right.
Cyborg is. People know who Vixen is. People know who Aqualad is. You know what I'm saying? Like you might not know too much about them, but you know they exist in some form or fashion. And so it's like they are still very easy to continue to push as popular and push to new heights. And while you do that, bring in some new folks and some new faces. Again, I think Duke is a great example of kind of like a newer character who's like moved up into the ranks. Naomi obviously is doing her thing, but I think Duke had a pretty great slow burn. I think now is the time to take it to the next level. He should be like on a Young Justice or a Titans or like something, and like so more people can see him.
Yeah, I think that the way that you really push a lot of the older characters is to start to integrate them more with the other more established characters, and then that's how you kind of help get them pushed. You know, sure, Jon Stewart can be with the Justice League, but we need to see him like not just come in and do some Green Lantern shit. We want to see him like in like the Superman book, or
Honestly,
Aquaman or whatever.
To be perfectly honest, I kind of think it's at a point where those type of characters, Jon Stewart, Cyborg, Vixen, they should just be in their own books.
That too, yeah. They should have solos.
I think that though, like those three specifically, like are all at a point where anything that features them should be a solo book. And then, like you said, I think all the other characters who are kind of a little bit lower on the totem pole, those are the ones who we need to start integrating into the Justice League to see interacting with Superman and stuff like that. But those three, like honestly, I'll be okay. Like if I never see any of them on the league again,
because they don't need to be.
it's just like
they've always just been there.
Yeah, it's just like if we're gonna start like really getting to them, like we need to give them their own books and like let them finally like push that. Especially Vixen. Like Vixen is one who's like just a wealth potential.
Yes.
In terms of like,
I don't know why they don't have given her a solo.
It doesn't even make sense.
That's just asking for money. Like, she needs a solo.
So yeah, I think that's where I am with that.
Yeah, I agree. I think that they can definitely be pushing. It's time to give them all some solo stuff. All right, that's all I wanted to discuss with this panel. Let's take a break, and we will come back for that rewatch of WandaVision.
Ooh. We're back for another rewatch of WandaVision. Episodes 5 and 6.
Yes. Wow. This show is like
we are getting an MCU movie every week.
For real. It feels that way. Shout out to the budget. Because
to the acting. Wow. They are acting on the show. All right. Yeah. Like everyone is acting down and I love it.
Yeah, they are. Everybody put their good acting. They're going for the Emmys, child. They want their TV stuff. They want their praise because everybody on the show is really giving it. Episode 5, and between the two episodes, episode 5, in my opinion, was a little bit better than episode 6. And episode 5, you get them in. This is supposed to be the 80s, right? And you get the whole opening, which I think is really cute, of all the different like 80s sitcoms and stuff, Full House, all that. I think that's really cute. You know, with Elizabeth Olsen and her twin sisters, Mary-Kate and Ashley. And you see the kids, Billy and Tommy, they've like been aged up. They're like cute little toddlers now, or like, I don't know, they're like 5 or whatever.
I think so, yeah.
Super cute. They are these adorable little kids. They're running around. She can't control them per se, she by she I mean Wanda. So I don't know what's really going on with these kids, because while they were babies, she tried to put them to sleep, but couldn't put them to sleep, and it didn't work. Like her magic powers didn't work. And sure enough, just in time for her to need you know, some help, Agnes just like magically appears and she's like, oh, I'm here, I can come and help you out. And oh, don't worry about it, like I can watch the kids for you while you guys do whatever. And Vision is starting to be like, no, that don't make sense. How does she like just pop up randomly just this nick of time, like a
Always needed what
sitcom
you
would?
need.
Right. And Agnes makes this point of, after the kids finally go back to sleep, Agnes makes this point of, oh my gosh, children, you can't control them, which I think that was like definitely a point to focus on or something. So the kids like age themselves up, which we later found out that they were the ones that aged themselves up. I thought that like Wanda was kind of doing it somehow, but I guess
I
like
always got the feeling that the kids are doing it. I think it's a little Wiccan magic in there.
Oh yeah, no, that's right. I forgot. You are the Wiccan stan, so I'm sure you are. Getting your life with all of this that the Wiccan content. Him and his hairband.
Honestly, so it's funny because you say issue. I mean, not issue. Look at us. Look at me. Episode 5 was better. I was all about episode 6.
Of course you were.
As soon as it opened up. So first of all, I really love that they kind of played on the Malcolm in the Middle theme for that episode.
Oh my God, I loved that. I loved Malcolm in the Middle back in the day.
Like that. I thought that was really cute, and like having like the kids kind of narrate parts and stuff and going on. And so as soon as it opened up and like Billy started talking, I was like, this is what I came for. Like listen, I was like, now the show's good. Yes. And so it was like really fun kind of watching them run around and do that. Going back to episode 5 though, I really did kind of enjoy the entire mystery of what's going on with the people, and Vision starting to come to terms with like realizing things aren't what they are supposed to be here. And even the reveal of like when he kind of got into the co-worker's head after he touched him, and like he was great open scene. He's like, yeah, like fantastic scene again, like everybody's acting, and he was like terrified. He's like, you got to stop her. And it's like, but then Vision like puts him back under, and so he's confronts Wanda about that. And like that scene in itself was just amazing, and having them like flying up to each other and like just anger, and Vision's like, I can't remember anything, what is going on, and Wanda just being like, don't worry about it, like let it go.
Under control, right? So I loved that scene that so they got, after they had got that dog or whatever, like randomly the kids like find a dog, they want to adopt it. Agnes comes over again right on time, and Vision comes downstairs and he's like, oh, I'm just dressed. And Wanda's like, well, why are you dressed so formally? He's like, because I have a feeling someone's gonna come over here just and have exactly what we need. And sure enough, Agnes comes over with a doghouse for the dog that they just got that day. And Wanda like magics up a dog collar, and Vision's like, hold on now. We weren't supposed to be showing our powers or whatever. And she's like, oh, don't worry about it, it's cool, it's whatever. And later, like you said, they get into that fight, and I loved Elizabeth Olsen when Vision's like, you can't control me the way you control all the others. And she was like, I can't.
Okay. And the credits start rolling.
She was like, I do what the hell I want to do. I love that. And them getting into like this argument, they're making them feel like, how I was bitch about not seeing couples actually be couples.
This is what you're living.
Exactly. So like we're seeing them like be, have some kind of conflict between them two of each other, because they are two separate people. And and she is clearly going through it and having a breakdown. Yeah. So
I also love kind of the little parts that we've been seeing with characters, like specifically Agnes, where she kind of like breaks character. And she's like, there's a scene like where something happens and she's asking Wanda, she's like, do you want me to do it again? Like, do you want to start over?
Yeah.
Or even like after the dog dies, when unfortunately the dog does die, she's like talking to Wanda, she's like, oh, you can do that?
Yeah.
It's
like, oh, you can bring people back to life, girl? What?
Yeah, so it's interesting to kind of watch those characters. And then again, like I said, when Vision kind of like frees people from whatever spell they're under, it's just like, okay, so these people kind of know that they're in a show or like acting or doing something for Wanda's win, but at the same time they like know, or they're like under a spell and they know that they're not in control right now. So it's a lot of layers going on to whatever she's doing to them.
Yeah, definitely a lot of layers. When Agnes kind of broke out there and she was like, you know, do you want me to do this again? It felt like, wait a minute, she's in on the show part of it, or she at least knows that things are supposed to go the way that Wanda wants them to go, or at least you know, like she's all as far as the show goes. So
because she has another moment like that in episode 6 with her when he's like doing security at the what was it, Halloween
yeah,
party. And you know, and he says something to her. He's like, "Do you want me to do something different?" He's like, "Do you want me to do it again? Like, what's going on?" And
right.
she's like, "No, what are you talking about?"
Yeah, she's like, "It's fine, it's cool."
So and then again, like her, I think even what was that episode 3 or 4 when she first kicked Geraldine out? Like,
yeah,
they were the two who were talking to Vision. They like seemed the most aware of whatever is going on than anybody else.
mm-hmm. I just wonder, you know, how they all got caught up in this mess. Like, were they already in Westview and then Wanda is just keeping them there, or did they just, you know, were they visiting Westview and got lost there or something like that? I don't know what's really going on. I'd like to get to my biggest question so far has been what's going on with the townspeople and what's going to happen to them after. You know, this episode 5, you know, they send a drone through. By they, I mean S.W.O.R.D. S.W.O.R.D. finally gets drawn through. It's being commanded by Monica Rambeau because she comes up with the idea of, wait a minute, my clothes that I came out in, they're bulletproof, because she tries to shoot it, and it's because they've been like rewritten, like the molecularly, like the reality of them has been changed. Her Kevlar vest was basically changed into her clothes that she was wearing. And she thought, well, it was either her or Darcy thought, like, you know, well, what happens if you send something in that doesn't need to get changed? So they sent in this older drone, and that was not a good idea because, you know, it was also a Stark drone. So, you know, Wanda's got some trauma with Stark missiles being launched at her. So they shot her with a missile that wasn't gonna work because she leaves her bubble and like throws the drone at them because clearly she like got rid of the missile and all that kind of stuff. And there's this entire scene out there which I thought was amazingly acted and shot between Scarlet Witch and the S.W.O.R.D. agents. They've all got their like guns targeted at her. And she's like, no, I'm not the terrorist. You guys are, because y'all got the guns. I'm just trying to live. Like, leave me alone. She looks at Hayward and says, I have after Monica's like, you know, we can help you out. What do you need? She's like, you know, I have everything I need. And I'm not going to let anybody take it away from me again. She looked at Hayward and said that, which makes me feel like Hayward was involved in taking Vision's body. Like, I think that when we finally see how the Scarlet Witch was able to get the Vision's body, I think that we will see that Hayward was also already there, because I know that they changed the acronym for S.W.O.R.D. from like sentient world observation to sentient weapon. And the Vision is a sentient weapon. So it makes sense that S.W.O.R.D. would be the ones trying to probably get the Vision's body, probably to make their own or something like that.
We did see in episode 6 that they were like tracking Vision when Darcy was breaking into the file. So that I follow that line of thinking. I like it.
Yeah, I think that they were involved in either trying to take his whole body or trying to replicate it or something, but I think that they had it, you know, before Wanda got there and stormed through, as we saw in that one clip. She just marched straight through the doors and took him out.
Are you enjoying Monica still?
I am a lot. Tiana Paris is beautiful, and she is doing great stuff in this show. I like what she's representing on the show, which is like she thinks. You know, I like a character that thinks.
You love a character that thinks.
You know, I love a character that thinks. So like, she's always the one to be able to come through with like a rational head and a rational mind and say, now hold on, that don't make sense. We should be trying to do things this way. She didn't want to shoot the missile at Wanda. They did. Yeah. She would just kind of come in and try to talk to Wanda. That is kind of what leads us into this conflict between Wanda and Monica, because like Wanda kind of sees Monica as like a non-threatening ally, I guess. Not necessarily an ally, maybe a non-threatening enemy, because she's still on the outside, but she doesn't think of her as a threat anyway, because she did aim all those guns at Hayward. She didn't make any of them shoot Monica, which I think was on purpose. So yeah, I'm enjoying Monica in this series.
And then, how do you feel about the ending of episode 5?
Okay, so I was gagged. I was. Wanda opens the door because the doorbell rings, and Vision is like, oh, here you go again, making something convenient show up when in the middle of us fighting.
He was digging at her ass. He was what's going on, sister?
And she said, I didn't do that. And she was like, you don't believe me, but whatever I say, because Vision clearly doesn't believe him, which I'm starting to think I don't. Yeah, I don't know if I believe. No, I don't think she did that. Never mind. So Quicksilver, she opens the door and it's Pietro, but it's Evan Peters from the Fox X-Men movies as Pietro, and I was not expecting him to be Pietro. I had heard rumors about him being on the show and that they would bring him back. I just assumed that they would bring him back and have him play Mephisto. I still think that that whole thing is somehow playing into this. Maybe not necessarily Mephisto. He might be Nightmare or something else. But I don't know. Something else. There's another like sinister like force in this. I don't think Wanda is like the villain of all this. But he shows up and he says, "Oh, I'm Pietro, no hug for your long lost bro." So right then and there, that lets me know that he is not the Fox Quicksilver, because that Quicksilver didn't have an older sister. He had like a younger kid sister.
That is
and Wanda calls him Pietro, and in the Fox X-Men movies, his name was Peter. So they're definitely not the same characters, just the same actor.
Okay. Do you think that she like pulled him over some way, or they're gonna like kind of tie it in? Because we know that she's going to be in the Multiverse of Madness in Doctor Strange 2. So do you think they are going to try and like maybe that's what it is, they're tying it in some way, or do you think it's just like a fun nod that they have these two guys?
I think that it's a fun nod because as we see, and we guess we can kind of go ahead and jump into episode 6. As we see in episode 6, it's this Halloween episode. Everyone's getting dressed for Halloween. Super cute. Wiccan and Speed got their like comic book nod costumes on, and they're like going through the house in this very like Malcolm in the Middle feel. But Pietro is there. He's still got his super speed. He's running around and doing all that kind of stuff. And later in the episode, she has this kind of talk with Pietro, and Wanda's like, why did your face change? And I think that this was them explaining the face change and not saying that he was pulled over from some other universe. I think that Pietro responds to Wanda and says, if I found Shangri-La, why would I want to have a face that reminded me of sadness? Which is like, if I found this like Nirvana or this place of peace, why would I want to have the face of my dead brother always reminding me about that? So I think that was a cute nod to say that like their faces changed, which I think that they've done something like this before, actually, with Rhodey in Iron Man, when they recast
Terrence Howard.
What's the other dude's name?
Don Cheadle.
Don Cheadle. When they recast Terrence Howard with Don Cheadle, I think in the movie, Iron Man or Tony Stark says like, "Oh, you look a little different," or like, and Don Cheadle responds with like, "Oh, I think I lost a little weight," or like, or the suit makes me look a little taller, or something like that. And then they just like keep it moving. I think in WandaVision, this was the same kind of thing where they explained all of the questions that you may have had through Wanda's own questioning. Later on in the episode, Wanda even asks him, where'd your accent go? Buckwild, where'd your accent go?
He's like, where's yours? And she was gagged too. She was like,
She was like, hold on, I'm asking the questions. But yeah, she asked him, where did your accent go? And personally, I think that he doesn't have an accent on this show because I don't think Evan Peters can do that accent. So they just were like, don't even try to do that. Forget it. We'll just have it in the show where, she rewrote it or whatever, which, or, have him rebuttal with, where yours go. So this episode 6 for me was fun. You get more of their like Halloween stuff. The episode-y parts of the show, as far as the sitcom stuff went, wasn't as great for me as the Vision stuff that was happening in this episode. The
Vision really stuff was really good.
Yeah, I thought the Vision stuff in episode 6 was really good. He's trying to get up out of there. He's like walking around the neighborhood because earlier in the episode they were supposed to go trick-or-treating, but Vision was like, oh no, I'm gonna go join her for the neighborhood watch. And Wanda's like, wait, you're not supposed to do that. And Vision's like, what do you mean?
Right. He's like, what should I be doing?
You wanna let's talk about it.
And she's like, nope.
Never mind, forget it.
Yeah. I really did enjoy that, and I loved a lot of the stuff that came with it. And Vision kind of like, as he goes to explore, we kind of course find out he's not with the neighborhood watch, and he's just like going farther and farther out into the town. And as we go out to the town, we start seeing people moving a lot slower and just kind of doing repetitive motions, and they're not as like up. And so it's like really interesting to see how far Wanda's sphere of influence is, and like how much she can actually do. Oh, excuse me, yes, hex of influence. And what she can do and like how powerful she actually is.
Yeah, she's really fucking powerful.
and then of course, so we get Vision. He kind of like, and we're gonna jump back and forth a little bit here. Vision, he walks out of the hex and he's confronted by the S.W.O.R.D agents, and like, but it's pulling him back, and to the point where it's like, he starts breaking apart. And a little bit earlier in the episode, we find out that young Tommy has super speed, like his favorite Uncle Pietro. And, Billy's just kind of there. And we're like, oh, what's Billy going to do? And then we start getting Billy hearing Vision. And I thought it was great how that plus him stopping Tommy was kind of mimicking what Wanda's original powers were. When she first came on the scene, they said she was like psychokinetic and she could move stuff and all that. And so it's like, oh, here's little Billy now. He's got the mind stuff going on. They're like, let's get the sparkles on. It's happening.
Yeah, I knew you were gonna be living for that. I was like, oh yes, the Wicked Stars are gonna eat this up.
It was great. His little costume was great. I was loving it. I was loving it.
Yeah, as soon as I saw that little blue power stuff come up, I was like, oh.
And I'm usually not into the kids. Like, I don't deal with the kids, but like young Billy and WandaVision. Oh, and Maggie and Excalibur. Like, I love Maggie and Excalibur. She's like fantastic. So like young Billy and Maggie, they're like the only kids who like I'm here for.
Okay, yes. That's because they talk like little Stewies. Like little Stewie Griffins. Like they just got a lot of attitude. Yeah, I thought that part was cool. I wasn't expecting them to get their power so soon in this show. As they're like 10 years old now, right? Or something like that. Because they had to age themselves up.
And I guess that could also tie back to kind of like what you were saying, where there has to be something else sinister going on, like maybe Mephisto, Nightmare. I don't know, just some type of other influence, because it's like, we've seen Wanda can't control them. She couldn't stop them from crying. They are like aging themselves up whenever they want. they're developing powers, and it's like Wanda's not giving them powers. So it's like, how is all of this happening? What's going on with the twins there?
Mm-hmm. Speaking of Wanda giving people powers, how do you feel about Monica? And they would like Darcy was able to hack into Hayward's files, and she looked at Monica's blood work, and it showed that her cells had been like altered because she went through the hex twice.
Yes.
Do you think that like she is going to get her powers that way, or is there something that's already been there? What do you think is going on?
I do think I feel like it's something that's already been there. I feel like maybe the hex like activated something that was already in Wanda. I think that excuse me, not Wanda, Monica. I think that should Monica get her powers, it's more so going to be due to something with Captain Marvel, space, radiation in her body. We already know that her mom has passed away from cancer, so can assume that there might be some also effects that have been inside of her. I think that maybe the hex has activated that or enhanced it or maybe altered that so it doesn't turn to cancer and kill her or something like that, but instead like helps activate her powers. I do think her powers are coming though.
Yeah, I think so too. I think I said on the show previously that I thought that the way she's gonna get her powers is she's gonna be in a suit or something that is kind of like it'll look like an homage to her Spectrum costume, with the white and all of that, but it'll be like some kind of body containment suit, and she'll try to get back into the hex or whatever, but then she'll be caught in an explosion. It's always an explosion.
Always.
So she'll get caught in some explosion, and then that's kind of what's going on with her powers. I do remember that in episode 5 when they did the tests on her, her results were coming back like the light was too bright on that scan. I don't know.
Spectrum is coming.
She's definitely coming, and I can't wait for her to get there. I just don't want her powers to be tied to Wanda, because my thing is, if Wanda is able to do this once, why can't she do it a bunch of times? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if Wanda is altering, if Monica's cells got altered because of going through the hex, does that mean Darcy's cells got changed? Because spoiler for the show, obviously, at the end of episode 6, Vision is about to try to like escape, and like you said, Billy's powers have come in. They finally locate him. Wanda is like, no, and uses her powers and makes the hex grow. It's like significantly larger now, and all the S.W.O.R.D members are now inside of it. So like if Monica got her powers from going through the hex, does that mean that these people's cellular stuff has now been changed because they went through?
Which again is why I'm more so operating under the theory that her cells or structure was already strange because of Captain Marvel, and the hex just did something to like boost that or like start it up. I don't think I would enjoy Wanda being responsible for giving anyone their powers. No, I do not think
I don't
bring mutants into the MCU.
Absolutely not. That doesn't make any sense, because if anything, that wouldn't make them mutants. That would make them mutates. A mutant is somebody that's born with like their genetic difference. Like Spider-Man isn't a mutant; he's a mutate.
It's also just strange because you have a lot of people who operate under the theory that they want Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver to be Magneto's kids in the MCU, and it's just like, well, if Wanda creates mutants, so she creates her dad.
I've asked that question and nobody had an answer for me. I was like, so if she creates mutants, then that means she created Magneto and Xavier. Y'all want her to create Storm? Like what?
Wanda created Storm.
That don't make no sense. Absolutely not. No. So no, I don't think that she's gonna be like creating mutants like that.
I just think that's a strange. I don't think the mutants are coming anytime soon. I think people are kind of like stressing themselves out with the mutants.
Yeah, it's because, like I say, it's like the X-Men and the mutants are so popular, but for some reason people care more about the lore than the story, and they just want to see like the lore that they know. Because like, what does Wanda even need to be a mutant for? She don't even like to be an X-Men. She don't even want to be like over there.
Pretender.
The pretender. So like, yeah, I don't know. I think that we need to like pump the brakes on the X-Men mutant stuff.
Do you have a theory of who Monica's friend is that she's going to bring in to help her get back into the Hex?
Okay, so there are a few guesses that I've seen go around, and I've seen people say somebody of the Fantastic Four. It'll be Reed Richards. I don't think that. Which I find it interesting that y'all love to shade my Fantastic Four, but everybody's so excited to rush to see them on screen. So, otherwise, why are they in the conversation?
I think we want the villains. Fantastic Four have all the good villains.
I'm here for Sue. So, okay, say what you will, but I am here for Susan Storm. I do not think Sue Storm was on the opposite end of that call either. I don't think anybody from the Fantastic Four was. I've seen people also say that it could be Blue Marvel. Now, as cool as that could be, I don't want that. Not because I don't want Blue Marvel in the MCU. I obviously want that. That'd be cool.
Oh, okay. I was about to say.
No. I don't. I want him in the MCU, but not yet because I don't want Monica to be bound by no man already. Like I don't. Like I don't want Monica to, like before she even suit up to already have her love interest introduced and all that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? Like I want to see her shine before we kind of pull him in. So
I get that.
Honestly, I think that it is probably. Do you remember in Captain Marvel that little squirrel girl that she was like friends with on the steps before they all kind of went back into space?
Yes.
I think it's probably her grown up or just like some other scroll.
Okay. Right. I guess we'll see. I don't think it's Blue Marvel. I also hope it's not Blue Marvel. I would love for Blue Marvel to be introduced in a different type of way, in a much grander setting. And
honestly, side note, I've always wanted him to appear in the Fantastic Four movie. If they went the route of the Negative Zone introduction, like that origin story, like the ultimate origin story versus the going out into space and getting their powers, I would think it would be cool if he was there like on already in the Negative Zone or something and they came and got him out or something. I think that'd be cool.
That would be cute. I can be into that. Marvel needs to give me my Blue Marvel series. They keep playing.
Yeah. It's time.
WandaVision.
Yeah. I thought so. Yeah, overall, I thought it was great. I don't really know what's going on with Quicksilver or Pietro anyway. Wanda has a flash of him being dead, so I assume then was that a flash of her trauma or was that a flash of like his actual dead?
I think it's a flash of trauma because she had like a similar situation with Vision. A few episodes ago when she like saw him with like his head all bashed in from the Mind Stone. So
does that mean that he's actually dead there? Maybe it's not his body, but does that mean that like this Pietro isn't like is this Pietro going to make it out of this show or is he dead?
Oh, that's an interesting question.
That's what I mean. Because like if she's having traumatic like sights of Vision and he's already dead, and she's having these traumatic like visions of Pietro and he's already dead, is he legit dead and going to make it out of this show?
Interesting.
That's my question. I wonder if the twins.
I think the twins are going to make it out somehow.
Billy and Tommy, you think so?
Yeah.
Yeah. A friend of mine also thinks that they're going to make it out just because the whole like they were the other souls thing is convoluted and they already got their powers now. So just let them leave.
Maybe that's why Wanda goes to the multiverse of madness. Maybe like the souls like get trapped somewhere or something like that and they have to go and find them or they come back older. I don't know. I think the twins are going to make it out. That's all I know.
How do you think the multiverse is going to play into this? Do you think that I don't know if it is, honestly, in the WandaVision. I don't think that there's going to be this big like multiverse, oh my god, there's a portal open thing that's gonna
I don't
happen.
think anything happens in the multiverse here. I think that whatever happens in the show will lead her to the multiverse, but I don't think we're actually going to get that yet.
I agree. I think that whatever she does to whoever is, I think, you know, Doctor Strange is gonna come in with his sparkles and his circle and come through and help contain this hex and fix it, and then take her off to help train her in her magic, and then they'll be like probably popping through the multiverse to do all that.
Okay.
And then he'll probably, you know, be like, "Oh my god, this is all Nightmare bringing this. Nightmare was increasing your fears because he was feeding off your magic." You know, there was a commercial in this episode, in episode 6, which was I assume a reflection of her trauma, like all the other commercials. You know, there was that Stark watch or whatever it was supposed to be, like a bomb, or the Stark toaster that was a bomb. And all the commercials so far have been reflective of her past traumas. However, this one, there was this like boy on an island, or this kid on an island, and he was like, "Oh, I'm really hungry." And this shark comes out, and it looked just like this old like yogurt or like Capri Sun ass commercials from the 90s, which I think was really kind of cool. This like they're like claymation stuff. So this shark like comes out and is like, "Oh, you know, have this, eat on this." And it was, the product was called Yo Magic, and the little kid kept trying to open the Yo Magic, but it never got it open, and it took like a long time to get it open, and then they died, and they were just a skeleton. And the shark comes out and was like, "Oh, Yo Magic for the survivors." So I think that someone is like feeding off of her magic or something.
Okay. I mean, it would be cool if it is Nightmare. I'm a big fan of Nightmare as a
Oh,
villain
okay.
in comics. Yeah, he's dope.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. So this most recent episode still very good. Left with more questions. I don't know if Quicksilver is gonna make it out. I'm personally still not sold on if the twins are gonna make it out, but I do think that there's another like sinister voice that is kind of manipulating her in this. You know, I did think that it was really cool in the earlier part of episode 6, after the whole trick-or-treating, Quicksilver and Wanda have this like sit down conversation, and Quicksilver is like, "So how are you doing all of this? Like, what's the tea, sis?" Like,
also, I loved how like aware he was of everything. It's like, yeah, I know you're doing this. Like, it's okay.
It felt like the comics to me. It felt like Wanda and Pietro to me, because he was like, you know, and she was like, you know, "You're not mad at me, like you're not upset that I'm doing this." And Quicksilver's like, "No."
No. And then like that's exactly how it would be in the comics. Pietro would like never care. He'd be like, "Oh no, if you're happy, do it."
Exactly. And you know, he was like, you know, I'm not your husband. You can talk to me about whatever. Which I did like how they had Quicksilver written for that. I thought that was a really great showcase of his personality, because it was accurate to the comics. But I'm fine. I'm also fine with him being Pietro, you know.
Yeah, I liked him.
I would have liked. I think I only would have wanted Aaron Taylor Johnson because, for continuity purposes, because it is the same actor. But as long as this is the same character, it's fine.
Yeah.
I want a Quicksilver back anyway. So
yeah,
that's fine.
and the way they've done it is well done.
Yeah,
like,
agreed.
It fits with the story.
I like the way it was written in with the change, all of that kind of stuff. It made sense to me.
Agreed. I'm ready for the next episode. I'm ready for Teenage Billy.
Oh yeah, I'm sure you are ready.
I am ready for Teenage Billy and to see what's going on there.
Now what are you gonna do when he meets a young blonde squirrel boy?
I think we got some time before that happens. I got some time to mentally prepare for that.
Okay.
But you know, I'm excited to see that. I'm excited to see kind of what goes on with like Monica and Jimmy now that they're out of the hex and they're like going to do whatever. I'm excited to see Darcy inside of the hex and what she's going to be like. I'm excited to again now see Vision, now that she's expanded the hex out, but we know that Vision got out and like saw all of this stuff. You know, is he gonna remember that now in the next episode? Is she gonna like trying to erase the memory? Like what's going on there? Because this is only 9 episodes.
Yeah, it's 9 episodes.
We got 3 left. So it's like,
and in most recent interviews, Paul Bettany has said that the last 3 are when like things hit the fan. And he said those were the best ones. And I think they're gonna be longer too. I think at least the last 2 are an hour.
Okay, I'm ready. Let's do it.
Yeah, this is gonna be great. I'm in. I'm excited to see what else they kind of do. And then this literally will roll right into Falcon and Winter Soldier. So
I'm ready for that. I'm ready for that.
Yeah, that trailer was really good. I think that they're in Madripoor in the beginning of that. I think that island that they're at is Madripoor.
I love me some Madripoor.
I think that you're gonna really like be hype as shit for like the whole Falcon and Winter Soldier.
I won't lie, I am a little apprehensive. Between us, you know. Yes. I don't know if I really like Anthony Mackie.
That's fair.
But
he's here now. He ain't gonna change.
But he's here, and it's like I'm excited, and I know it's gonna look good. The trailer looks good. I'm ready to see Falcon kick some people in the face. Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, that's gonna be great. All right, y'all. That brings us to the end of the show. Please feel free to rate and subscribe us on wherever you get your podcasts at, Apple, Google, all that. Leave us comments. You can find us on Twitter at Another Relaunch. You can email us your own questions, anything you want to discuss, your own relaunches you may want us to read or whatever at anotherrelaunch@gmail.com. You can find me on Twitter and all kind of social media stuff out there at UncannyLZ. I need to change my PlayStation Network name to UncannyLZ too, so y'all can find me on there and we can play video games and stuff together.
If you have an Xbox, you can add me.
See, I'm Team PlayStation.
Why are we always on opposite ends of the
I know. I love it. Keenan, where can they find you?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Keenan Lance. There is an underscore at the end.
Boom. All right, y'all. I'm about to get up out of here. I'm hungry again.
I am hungry. I wanted to go back to the gym, but it's like freezing rain out, and so the ground's kind of icy. So
it's nice outside. I might go outside. All right, I'm out. Peace out, y'all.